Attractions Insider, a weekly Spectrum News podcast with the inside scoop on your favorite Florida attractions. Available now on the Spectrum News app. Your morning news presented by your Central Florida Acura dealers. Exhilaration comes standard.
The what?
Brian Carey's going to be. All right, time now 5 o'clock on this Thursday morning as we bring you the latest as we continue to follow Tropical Storm Nicole.
The winds, the rain, that's being felt right now across Central Florida, not only in the coastal counties, but also the inland counties now. As we continue to watch what happens in our neck of the woods, we've got team coverage with our reporters fanned out across the Central Florida area.
Thank you so much for trusting Spectrum News 13. I'm Curtis McLeod.
And I'm Ebeth Broussois. We're live at 5 this morning, have been live for hours, and now we want to bring in our team of certified meteorologists, being led by our chief meteorologist, Brian Carey. Maureen McCann is right there, and so is Chris Gilson. So walk us through what it means now that this thing is a tropical storm.
Well, Ebeth and Curtis, we're still seeing some pretty big impacts, although not as great as when it is a hurricane. And Chris, this hurricane making landfall very early this morning.
Yeah, it was around 3 o'clock when Nicole made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 75 miles per hour. It was in Indian River County, south of Vero Beach at North Hutchinson Island when it made landfall. And obviously this is a very rare event for this late in the season in November. So it's the latest calendar year hurricane to make landfall on the east coast of Florida on record. First hurricane landfall on the east coast of Florida and first season with 2 Florida landfalls since 2005. So it's been quite some time since we've had 2 impacts, and plus it was a short period of time, going just 42 days in between Ian and Nicole.
Which is why, looking at Clystron 13 this morning, we are finding rain over some of those areas hard hit by Ian. Now that the focus is shifting inland, the thing is that this is moving, so while you may experience some downpours, some gusty squalls right now along and north of the I-4 corridor, pausing this to give you the latest view anywhere from Disney World and Windermere up towards Ocoee and Pine Hills and Orla Vista and the direction of Winter Springs and the 417 Geneva and into Volusia County. So these bands still spiraling on shore. Yes, they are weakening some, but we don't want to let our guard down because the impacts are still going to be there for localized flooding, strong winds, and still that low-end tornado threat. But thankfully, Brian, we have not seen much concern with that so far.
That's right, Nebeth and Curtis. We are also keeping an eye on local rivers. We'll have the hydrograph for at least one of those rivers, maybe a couple of them coming up as they have started climbing slowly once again, and that will be a concern here the next few days.
Well, Brian, we appreciate it, and we know that you guys will keep us well informed on that. A lot of people's mind on those flooding.
Yes, and on Clystron 13, we just saw moments ago, Brevard County. So let's focus on that area right now.
Yes.
In Titusville is our Will Robinson Smith, and we've been checking in with you for hours now. You're giving us a sense of what you're seeing there, but also what's across the water from you at the Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, good morning. Let's start here in Titusville on this side of the river. We just had a crew at the Courtyard by Marriott. They just left. It was a tree cutting service from Evergreen, Alabama. Just one of the many response teams that's on the ground here on the Space Coast, getting ready to help however they can, as we obviously have down power lines, down trees like the one we showed you in Cocoa just a little while ago. Pan off to the right, my photographer Vincent here. You can see FPL's emergency response team also out here. And just to the right of that car, you can see the wind still doing a number here on the Space Coast. A lot of wind and rain still whipping around Brevard County. And Beth, as you mentioned, across the river there is the rocket for the Artemis 1 mission, the Space Launch System rocket. Want to clarify one of the points we made earlier in the morning, that the gust that we saw of 89 miles per hour was up on one of the towers that's near the rocket, not at the ground surface level. So working to get more information from the National Weather Service on exactly what sort of impacts that may mean for Artemis. Of course, the teams at Kennedy Space Center keeping a very close eye on that, and as are we. But across the county, we're keeping a track of the wind that's really just doing a number here, and the response teams are going out, but, they can only do so much. You can't go too high up when the winds are this strong. It's not that safe, but teams are getting in place to be able to respond as soon as it is safe to do so, to restore power to the tens of thousands of people that are without it at this time. For now, reporting live here in Titusville, Will Robinson-Smith, Spectrum News.
Thank you, Will. And we see the wall of that hotel that's giving him protection, right? But just over his shoulder, it is just the relentless wind that's thrashing those palm trees behind him.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. You can see it in the palm trees there. Pretty impressive pictures to see that those palm trees just swaying in the wind and rain there.
Okay, so from Brevard County, let's go a little bit more inland, but still near a body of water, and that would be over in Seminole County.
Yeah, over to Seminole County now, where we find our Jesse Canellis.
Yeah, we're going to get to Jesse in just a moment.
But
things are fluid because now the conditions are really ramping up, so our crews are trying to figure things out. I tell you what, let's pause and pivot and check in with Jerry Hume.
Yeah, Jerry's monitoring the roads for us this morning. Jerry, how are things looking?
Yeah, and I've been watching our cameras, trying to find the latest incidents and what we can see out there. We are still tracking a crash for you here, Flores Turnpike. This is going to be near the 408. Still watching this crash. The rain is coming down. These first responders, they are out there responding to this crash right now, which is blocking the left and right shoulders right now. We also have seen it just come down in buckets here on the 408. This is near Alafaya Trail. So the Metro Orlando area really getting hit hard for that commute. We'll take you up to downtown Orlando right now. This is a look here at I-4, our view near Colonial Drive. And yeah, the rain is coming down. No one on the roads except for, well, just a few people. And you want to stay home right now because we're dealing with those slick conditions and you don't want to be involved in any kind of incidents, which we are watching out there. Still taking over the coast right now. This camera is just rattling right now with that wind and the rain. This is International Speedway Boulevard at Clyde Morris Boulevard in Daytona Beach, right there near Daytona International Speedway. We've also seen this camera kind of rocking and rolling a little earlier. You can see it's kind of settled down here. This is I-95 here near I-4. We just got information from Flagler County Emergency Management. They're asking folks to stay off of A1A. All that beach erosion has really impacted the roadway, and you don't want any more cars on segments that are open because it just adds more pressure to A1A. Officially right now, A1A is blocked here between 18th Street and 10th Street. We also know it's blocked near the county line with St. Johns County, so try to avoid that. What you also have to avoid are the causeways. They're blocked here in Volusia County. This is New Smyrna Beach. Our sensors and indicators showing us the causeways that are blocked there. Also here in Volusia County, all of these causeways are blocked. They won't reopen until after FDOT can inspect those causeways, those bridges, after the storm has passed. So it could be some time and waiting for people. Now, down in Brevard County, they never close the causeways before or during a storm. They want to give residents every chance they can to leave the barrier island. But they will close these causeways once the storm passes by so that FDOT can inspect those bridges as well to make sure they're structurally sound. So we'll continue to follow everything here on the roadways. Best recommendation, though, right now is to stay off them if you can. Beth Curtis, back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jerry, for providing that new information and the live pictures. We'll continue to be with you, of course, as we are feeling the impacts across the area, not only on the coastal counties, but also inland.
Definitely so. We have weather updates every 10 minutes with your weather on the ones, of course, here on Spectrum News 13. And now, the certified meteorologist Marie McCann joining us. Hey, Mo.
Good morning. A very busy scene on Clystron 13 as the bands from Nicole spiral inland. We'll take you on a tour of Clystron 13. I'll show you where the rain is heaviest right now and where those bands are going. Coming up next with your forecast as we continue to monitor Tropical Storm Nicole.
A promise is a trust not to be broken.
I say your name.
Whether spoken with an oath.
Do solemnly swear.
It's your first day.
You know I got your back, right?
Or sealed with a pinky. A promise is a trust not to be broken.
I say your name.
Whether spoken with an oath.
Do solemnly swear.
It's your first day.
You know I got your back, right?
Or sealed with a pinky. In 1922, a group of soldiers launched USAA with a promise to take care of their own. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community. That's our mission. Always.
The day that JD was injured, I had woke up to a odd phone call. It was the military calling to tell me that he had stepped on an IED.
The day I got injured, she got wounded as well. And the veterans wouldn't be the men that we are and the women that we are today if it wasn't for our better half helping us every direction we go.
Find the nonprofits that support veterans. Offer your time if you don't have the financial resources to offer. There's always a way to help.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
Yeah, I'm watching it too. I see them every day.
Curtains. They're always drawn in this place.
I know.
That guy seems like he's in charge of them. I don't know. I don't feel very good about this.
We have to report this.
Yes, absolutely.
This is living proof that there can be life beyond cancer. At Baptist Health, we've treated more breast, colon, and lung cancer patients than any other health system in Kentucky and southern Indiana. Learn more at baptisthealth.com/cancercare.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be just like Cal Ripken. It's definitely humbling to know that now people are calling me a hero. Instead of finding the IED with my metal detector, the IED found me first, and that resulted in double above knee amputations. It's hard to describe the feeling of meeting somebody that you've always wanted to be.
Here we are at 5:11. Meteorologist Maureen McCann here alongside Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and Chris Gilson as they continue to monitor what's happening with Nicole here in the Weather Center. I'm going to take you on a tour of Clystron 13 coming up to show you where that rain is heaviest. Let's go outside right now, though, to Flagler Beach. We have some live images coming to us from there. We saw some reports yesterday coming in that there was additional damage to the Flagler Beach pier. So as we see how the camera pans, those water levels running quite high, coastal erosion a big threat with the next tide cycles coming up this morning. And of course, we'll get better images once the sun comes up, and that'll be around 6:40 this morning. If you're just waking up, if it was noisy outside and you heard the rain, the wind, Nicole no longer a hurricane. It's a tropical storm, and it's moving to the west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. The eye moved over Indian River County and southern Brevard County, and right now we can still see it intact on Clystron 13. So places like Melbourne, Palm Bay, Temecula, Malabar, and Yeehaw Junction, the winds easing a little bit there, the rain letting up, but don't forget on the back edge, you're still going to get those gusty winds, so it's not over yet. Right now, the heaviest rain is focused inland as we see those yellows and oranges start to tick up the rainfall intensity for East Orange County along the beach line and for areas to the west of I-4. We go in for a closer look at the rainfall rates. This would be if the rain was stationary over the same areas. This is how much rain would occur. These are nothing like what we saw during Ian. During Ian, we were seeing those rainfall rates 5 to 6, 7 inches an hour, which was just very intense. Right now, these are around 1 to 2 inches an hour, which is still very heavy rain on top of an already saturated ground, which is why we need to be on guard for flooding. There is still a flood watch posted area-wide. But when we look back on the last 12 hours as rainfall started to pick up along the Brevard County coast, that's where totals were a little bit higher. They're within the range of about 2 to 4 inches, though. Some locally higher amounts are still going to be expected, but now the focus for heavy rain will be shifting inland. So will the threat of those gusty squalls. I've plotted some wind speeds here, sampled from Clystron 13. Remember, this is above the ground, so oftentimes these winds can mix down to the surface out by Wedgefield to the south of the beach line, picking up on a 64 mile per hour wind gust. We've also seen those tropical storm strength near the UCF campus and Avalon Park, 40 to 48 miles per hour. Another graphic I want to show you is how we're looking for some small areas of spin in the atmosphere to see if there's any rotation that could lead to an isolated tornado. While that threat is low, it's still there for an isolated tornado. Seen a few pockets on this graphic over Volusia County and Seminole County. County, it's really faint, but we look for these pockets of brighter green and yellow, but you can tell there really isn't much. So that is good news. So it's wind-driven rain moving across the I-4 corridor. This is the system at its peak for Seminole, Orange, northern Osceola, and northern Brevard County. Volusia County still going to watch these bands coming on shore. So that is going to be our primary concern, with additional rain plus additional rain along the St. Johns Basin, where we're now to major flood stage for the St. Johns River near Astor. The hydrograph reflects how we've seen that water level rise. Now we're going forward and staying in major flood stage for a few days. So that's the latest on the inland flooding. Coming up, we'll be looking at those county by county impacts with your forecast and your weather on the ones. And of course, we'll see the timing on when this all moves out and things start to improve. Beth, Curtis?
All right, thank you so much, Maureen. Time right now is 5:15 in the morning.
It sure is, and we are still tracking Nicole in Lakeland right now.
Yeah, on the other side of I-4, Jason Lanning is joining us live now, joining us for our live team coverage. So, Jason, hello to you. Walk us through the conditions you're seeing there right now, my friend.
Well, so far, Lakeland's looking pretty good, Curtis and Beth. We can tell you a weather station about a few miles to our west toward Tampa reporting wind gusts at 24 miles an hour. So not all too bad at this point. We have seen about an inch of rainfall since we saw the outer bands of Nicole move into the central part of Florida. So, of course, the rainfall with this system and the potential for some localized pockets of flooding, we will be watching throughout the day. I want to take you into the neighborhoods of Lakeland overnight as the rain bands from Nicole move in. And the big question you have to ask yourself today, is it too early for a Christmas tree or too late for a tropical system? Regardless of how you answer, all of us can agree right now, it's a weird day here in Florida with this November landfalling hurricane, now tropical storm. We had a chance to talk with Tiffany Harrison, a resident here in Lakeland, who told us about what she and her husband experienced overnight as Nicole moved in.
Basically, like, the lights were flickering on and off, and then after that, it was just like, it just like blew. Like, you just see one go, and then next thing you know, you see another one go. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Right, not good, because as the lights flicker, you have to wonder if the lights will stay on. So far, so good. Only about 300 power outages reported here in Polk County. One thing to keep in mind, though, although this was a minimal hurricane at landfall and now a tropical storm, that's not going to cause catastrophic damage. But here in Polk County and Lakeland specifically, crews have been struggling to get all of the debris cleaned up from Hurricane Ian. That's the kind of lightweight debris piled up that will blow around as the wind gusts increase today. So keep that in mind as you're headed out. But again, so far, so good. No damage reports here out of Polk County and no localized flooding. We're keeping our fingers crossed that remains the case here throughout the next 8 hours or so, as we will see impacts from Tropical Storm Nicole. We're live in Lakeland this morning. Jason Lanning, Spectrum News 13.
All right, Jason, thank you so much. And like you said, some good news to report this morning. No debris or anything like that so far.
So far in that part of Central Florida. But we saw the wet roads behind Jason Lanning over in Lakeland. Let's get back closer to this side of I-4. Jerry Hume, we see the rain really coming down hard. Where is that from?
Yeah, this is the beach line right now. I've been listening to Maureen and our other meteorologists about where we're seeing the impacts. And 528 here in East Orange County, really getting it right now. This is a look here very close to Innovation Way and Sunbridge Parkway. That rain coming down there on the 528. The good news, we're not seeing any vehicles on the beach line right now, and that is what we want. We want people to stay home and stay safe out there. We'll take you over to I-4, Metro Orlando area, really getting hit. This is a look here at I-4, and that's the westbound ramp to I-4 from 46. And you see that vehicle going in there right there, that little ditch there. If you remember with Ian 6 weeks ago, this is the spot where cars got stuck with the flooded rain. Of course, we don't have that rain situation right now, but obviously that's a spot we want to watch right there, and the camera really shaking out there. We're still watching conditions over in Volusia County and on the coast. This is a look here at I-95 near International Speedway Boulevard. This camera also shaking out here, and we have slick road conditions. We've got another check with the latest on Nicole coming up here in just a moment. You're watching Spectrum News 13. We're back after this.
Being a homeowner, it is the best feeling ever. I mean, working with Highlands Housing was a great experience. I have no regrets. It was a really smooth process, and the advice I would give to somebody that wants to own their own home, I would say go for it. It's worth every ounce of stress and time. Like, in the end, I would recommend to do it.
This place that I call. You want to explain it to her like you
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Donnie Harper. I started Good Company Apparel 8 years ago, right here in Cincinnati. There are so many things that divide us as people. I wanted to spread an attitude of good. Spectrum Reach helped us do that. Their Pay It Forward program enabled me to create a commercial and get on TV. I'm going to keep partnering with Spectrum Reach because good marketing brings people in and good customer service brings them back.
Spectrum Reach, one advertising partner and done.
The day that JD was injured, I had woke up to a odd phone call. It was the military calling to tell me that he had stepped on an IED.
The day I got injured, she got wounded as well. And the veterans wouldn't be the men that we are and the women that we are today if it wasn't for our better half helping us every direction we go.
Find the nonprofits that support veterans. Offer your time if you don't have the financial resources to offer. There's always a way to help.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
All right, which lucky audience gets to connect with your dealership?
Well, number one is more likely to watch streaming shows, so I'm thinking a sports car. But number two can watch live TV, stream, and surf the web all at once. And number three loves to watch the big game while gaming with all her friends. So I'm thinking a pickup truck. Oh, I can't decide.
You don't have to decide.
That's right. Advertise your business to the right customers, no matter what, how, or where they're watching. Spectrum Reach, one advertising partner and done.
This place that I call. You want to explain it to her like you
It is 5:21. We continue to track Tropical Storm Nicole as it moves across central Florida. No longer a hurricane. Still has winds of 70 miles per hour. We'll get another update later on this morning. But we're starting to see the winds really pick up along I-4. We had wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour in Sanford. And now latest wind gusts up to 63 in Orlando.
Yeah, Brian was just relaying that to us. He's looking at some of those wind speeds. And with it still being a tropical storm, we have those gusty winds pushing inland, even though the winds may be letting up a little bit for parts of Brevard and Osceola counties. As we head over to Claystron 13, we'll be able to see where some of that heaviest rain is located here for the localized totals that may be climbing over 2 to 4 inches or more in Orange and in Seminole and parts of Lake counties now and Volusia County. Brevard County, I'll start here as I take a tour of the world's most powerful television radar. The rain has eased, the wind speeds likely easing for places like West Melbourne and Palm Bay. Mico, some rain starting to come up from the south now, so a sign that you are on the back edge of the storm as it moves into central Florida. So things are going to gradually improve there, but still not done with the tropical storm concerns yet. We remain under a tropical storm warning area-wide. It's Orange County where we have these bands of rain that are spiraling in, the orange and yellows representing where we have the heaviest rainfall. We've seen these rainfall rates around 1 to 2 inches an hour, but this is on the move. So while you may get a downpour, it won't last very long because then it's going to be shifting off to the west. So that's what's happening with the rainfall right now. As we see what's happening going forward with the futurecast, you can tell how the storm is going to quickly exit to the northwest, essentially moving along or near Florida's Turnpike. But Marion, Northern Lake, Sumter counties, the rain ends for you last. So still tropical storm conditions into early afternoon. Tonight we'll be on the back edge of the storm, or the storm will be exiting our area, but we'll still have that wraparound effect of a few more showers, and the winds could still be elevated. It's still going to be gusty. I know Chris is going to be taking a look at that with the futurecast with respect to winds.
Windy out there right now for areas along I-4 and points to the east. And as we walk you through here on futurecast, so if we go back into the maps and we'll take a look at the wind gust forecast here, and you can see here as we go through the day today, we're going to have the strongest winds likely area-wide between now and about mid-morning. Wind gusts of 35 to 40 miles per hour as we take a look at how the camera is bouncing around there in Seminole County. And we could have those winds lasting a little bit longer for areas to the north and west in places like Ocala, as Maureen was pointing out there. Sumter and Marion counties, you'll likely see the worst conditions late in the morning into the early afternoon. And then as we go into the overnight into Friday, the winds come down, but they're still going to be pretty noticeable with wind gusts around 20 to 30 miles per hour area wide, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit farther to the north during the day on Friday. So it's really between now and about mid-morning that we'll see the highest wind gust area wide, and then we'll start to see the conditions gradually improve as we head into the evening and overnight hours. We'll break down the latest on Nicole. We'll have more information on Nicole and the impacts here coming up in the next half hour. So let's send it back over to Curtis and Beth.
Yeah, those wind speeds, nothing to joke about. A lot of people, that's why they were being told to stay off the roads. It's just not safe.
Not safe at all, especially like you said with those wind speeds out there like that.
We have checked in with our reporters on the coastal counties inlands, and now we've got Ashley Mills gathering more information for us this morning to see what's happening when it comes to power outages and anything else that you have found this morning. Hey, Ashley.
Hey there, good morning to you. We do continue to monitor these conditions as FPL continues to update its live grid online showing those outages. It looks like Brevard County still has the bulk of those outages. We're talking tens of thousands. They updated it just recently within the hour, about 58,000. That video you're seeing also from Brevard County, that was from a viewer, Josh Reinhardt, sent from Port Canaveral. Some scary images as it looks like damage to those power lines. And crews remind everyone to just stay away from any downed power lines. They can be very dangerous. They are standing by to start restoring the power whenever it is deemed safe to do so. Take a listen.
We've got a small army. We've got 13,000 men and women ready to go. What we do before the storm is pre-position them so that once the weather is clear, they are close to where we think the damage is going to be. We don't want our crews to spend their time driving after the storm. We want them where they need to be restoring power right away. So we've got those crews dispersed throughout the entire east coast of Florida, and they'll be ready to jump into action as soon as the weather is safe for them.
And we will continue to track those outages and any damage reports from the storm as it continues to impact the coast and across Central Florida. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Ashley, for that updated information. And she showed some of that video of the transformer. That's something that we've seen, sadly, many times before with other hurricanes. When that wind starts to whip up, things get crazy.
It just goes from one extreme to the other, you know. And we want to go ahead and show you this right here, this new video out of Melbourne showing what appears to be, like we were just talking about, Beth, a transformer explosion in the distance. You see it there, that flash from this coming from viewer Aaron Miller, who sent this to us earlier in the morning here. You can see the sky lighting up over those trees there now, according to Florida Power and Light. Well, let's take a look at it, see if I can pull it up here. We were talking over 30,000 power outages. That's just in the Brevard County area right now alone. Let me make sure I have that accurate. Yeah, that's what we were seeing there in Brevard County, up to 53,000 power outages now.
Here's the deal. For comparison, at 3 a.m., you know how much that was? 21,000.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay, we invite you to download the Spectrum News app. We know that you got a lot going on. So if you have to step away, you can get all you need to know about this storm on the Spectrum News app, which you can download for free this morning.
All right, now you want to keep it here on Spectrum News 13. We will be here along with you all morning long as we continue to bring you the latest updates on Nicole's impact across the state.
At the very bottom of your screen, constantly updated information. I tell you what, grab some coffee, stay with us. We'll be right back with more on the forecast with our severe weather experts.
For those on the go, the smoothie connoisseur, the break room favorite, and for those that just never quite have it all, Clark's has what you need to keep your day on track. Make life easier and keep your busy schedule moving forward with everything you need at Clark's. Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
I am what child hunger looks like in America. I am a 9-year-old boy who hopes a friend invites me to a sleepover so I can have dinner. I am a 15-year-old girl who goes for walks during lunch, so my friends won't know I don't have anything to eat. I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 7 American children who struggle with hunger.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Individuals in every community are living in recovery from mental and substance use disorders. Begin your recovery journey. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is a message from the Secret Service.
Don't be a money mule. Criminals rely on money mules to transfer criminal proceeds to avoid detection by law enforcement. To protect yourself, never respond to an offer to earn quick and easy money. Never agree to receive and send money. Never share your financial information. Money laundering is a crime. If you witness suspicious activity, contact law enforcement immediately. To learn more, visit us online. From all of us at the Secret Service, be vigilant and stay safe.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
Your morning news presented by your Central Florida Acura dealers. Exhilaration comes standard.
Time right now is 5:30 in the overnight hour. So glad you're here on Spectrum News 13. Nicole is making its way, being felt across Central Florida right now.
Yes, and we've got team coverage for you to give you complete coverage of the storm's impact.
We've been going live for hours, bringing you our teams of reporters and photographers providing pictures like that. We want to show you what's happening right now.
Yes, we sure do. We want to make sure that you are prepared and not scared this morning. Thank you for trusting Spectrum News 13. I'm Curtis McLeod.
And I'm Ibeth Brusual. Okay, we're going to get to our reporters in a moment. First, let's bring in our severe weather experts right now. We've got our chief meteorologist, Brian Carrick. Maureen McCann is here as well. And, Chris Gilson is here as well. Hey, it's not overtime. It's an opportunity to shine and give our viewers the very latest info.
That's right. You know, Ibeth and Curtis, news had its Super Bowl with the election the other night. Now a Super Bowl for weather in that we are dealing with Hurricane Nicole, now Tropical Storm Nicole. And I believe we're going to take a quick camera shot from Seminole County and to show you the wind gusts that are starting to come up. Notice we are really seeing that camera bounce around as we take a look back in the distance of visibility coming down in the driving rain. We'll be checking in with Alan Harris up in Seminole County in just a minute. But Chris, winds are cranking up out there this morning.
Yeah, they were primarily focused, at least the stronger winds in Brevard County earlier, but now we're seeing that along the I-4 corridor with Sanford, a wind gust of 60 miles per hour earlier. Orlando International, 63 mile per hour wind gust. The highest was at the Melbourne airport of 73 miles per hour. Here's a look at the gusts that we have at this point. 60 miles per hour still in Orlando, up to 52 in Sanford, so you can understand why the camera was bouncing around there. 62 mile per hour wind gusts at the airport in Daytona, and still over 50 miles per hour in Melbourne. And with all the high winds, that's creating other issues in the form of power outages, Maureen.
Yeah, we've been seeing these numbers climb. Brevard County now up to 52,000 estimated customers without power. Orange County, that's 10,000, 1,500 in Osceola County, and about 6,500 in Volusia County. So it's not just a coastal event. It's something that's going to impact us inland, especially with these bands of rain that are continuing this morning, these gusty squalls that are pushing across the I-4 corridor. Although things have started to ease a little bit in southern Brevard County with the I moving over, we are not done yet. We have tropical storm warnings still posted area-wide.
And we're going to keep this going through the morning hours. The good news is that Beth and Curtis, Nicole will pull away fairly quickly tonight with improving conditions fairly fast. And right now, just a quick sneak peek, our weekend is looking really darn nice.
I like that. Darn nice.
I'm telling you.
Put that on the banner.
Put it there right now. I'm telling you. Looking forward to it, Brian. Thank you for giving us some hope here.
You know, our reporters are stationed across different parts of the state right now because it really depends on where you are, coastal or inland. Things are it's a mixed bag, really, of what we're seeing right now.
Definitely so. It definitely is a mixed bag. And, of course, we want to go ahead and bring in our next reporter here at this point in time.
Yeah, Nick Popham is joining us live from Flagler County. Hello to you, Nick. You've covered so many hurricanes. I've watched you. Now here you are once again. What's happening in Flagler County right now?
Good morning. We are over here at Flagler Beach, and as you can see behind me, we have some caution tape over here at the pier. This pier obviously affected by Hurricane Ian, and of course, Nicole not doing it any favors as we've been seeing the wind really gust through this area and continuing to do so throughout this morning. And from what we've seen, it's only going to get worse in this area where we are in Flagler County. There was a car that pulled up rather recently and had its high beams on, and we were able to actually see some of the waves before the sun's even gone up. And man, the swell is just intense. Some of those waves that are crashing onto the shoreline here. Thankfully, still a decent ways away from the walkway where we are, which is again just right by the beach. But we'll continue to monitor this area and see what happens as the wind picks up, because right now we're seeing a little bit of rain, but not as significant as what we were seeing on the ride over here from where our hotel is. It continues to be rather calm, if you could call it calm, in the midst of this massive storm that's taking place, this tropical storm rather. So again, we'll continue to monitor what's taking place here at Flagler County, give you the very latest as it becomes available. But for now, reporting live at Flagler Beach, I'm Nick Popham. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you so much. And you see Nick right there by the pier, and then on the right-hand side, the live pictures of the actual pier, and it's quite the contrast because those waves are just punishing on those pillars.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind here, this thing was damaged in Hurricane Ian just a month ago.
Yeah, and the pilings are just, being hammered right now. So again, Nick Popham reporting live. We'll be checking in with him in just a little bit. So from Flagler County, let's talk about what's happening a little bit more inland over in Seminole County.
Yeah, shall we do that? Now, we want to go ahead and bring in Mr. Alan Harris, of course, with emergency management out there in Seminole County. We see him everywhere. We see him running a mile a minute, making sure that we have the information we need. Good morning to you, sir. We appreciate you joining us here on Spectrum News 13 this morning. Can you tell us exactly where things stand as far as you all? I know it's early yet, but have you guys started, mobilizing teams to get out there and kind of assess what we're seeing so far?
Yeah, we started to feel a little bit of the impact as it gets closer to us. Quite a few trees down. We've got some power lines down in roadways, so a couple roads are closed now. Water on the roadway as well. We already had, of course, water on the roadway, believe it or not, from Hurricane Ian. That was just starting to go away along the St. Johns River in some areas, and unfortunately, this is just going to compound that. And then some localized flooding as well. So we've had quite a few traffic crashes this morning, so we're asking people, if you have to get out, please don't. If you don't have to get out, but if you have to get out, please drive carefully. Traffic signals, some traffic signals are out now. We have a little over right at 4,500 customers without power, so some of those will be traffic signals, and be very, very careful as you're driving around. Already quite a few accidents today. We'd like to prevent that here in Seminole County. We've had some minor damage already reported to us, a couple roof structures, things like that. So we're watching that real closely. Storm's not even quite here yet, so we haven't seen the worst of it, but we're certainly starting to feel the effects.
Alan, can you share any information with us from the Lake Monroe area? I was out there a few hours ago. I know that down the road is the hospital. A little bit further down is the St. John Steak and Seafood Restaurant, and then that assisted living facility next door to that. Any concerns in that part of Sanford at all?
So the water's going to have to rise quite a bit to be at where we were before when we had to close down Wekiva Island. I don't think that we're going to get there. None of the models at this point show that. So, and that's also a slow rise. So what we're seeing right now is the Little Wekiva, Gee Creek, Howell Creek, the Big Econ rivers. Those are starting to swell. That's going to take a little while to get to the St. John. So It's very confusing often for people to understand that once this is passed by, it's 3 or 4 days before we start to see the effects on St. John's. Then over the weekend, or actually early into next week, that's when we're going to start to flood on the St. John's River. So we are starting to see some localized flooding, so we know eventually it's going to go there. I just pulled up one of the rain models. It looks like most of the rain from this event in the Central Florida area has been centered right over Volusia and Seminole County. That's not what we wanted. We didn't want it anywhere, but certainly we did not want it over the St. Johns River Basin. For us, for Volusia, and for Lake County, they've got some concerns up in Astor. Of course, we've got concerns here in Sanford and Lake Harney. So just not really good where the rain has fallen so far.
How does this new storm and these conditions hamper your cleanup efforts? Because I often go to Seminole County. I don't live there. I live in Orange County, but I go into Seminole to take my son to school, which there's no school right now. And I see this huge field where all the different trucks are coming in with the debris that's being picked up in so many residential areas. So how does this storm slow down that process from Hurricane Ian?
Yeah, I mean, it put it to a screeching halt. We had to stop yesterday. A lot of these crews are not from here, so they come in from the state because there's 34-plus counties that require all these crews. So all these crews come from all over the place. We have crews from Alabama, from as far as Texas in here collecting debris. So they have to make sure everything's safe for themselves, get to where their safety is before they come back out. We're hoping to get them back on the street as early as Saturday. It doesn't look like it's going to be tomorrow, but as early as Saturday to start picking up debris. They're going to also do assessments because now there's new debris, most likely, with this storm. There's debris we probably have not realized yet because we still aren't in the worst part of it yet. So we have to look and see what that is, and do we need to bring in even additional crews from even further out, maybe up in Massachusetts, or even go out to Arizona, because there's so many crews in the state of Florida right now. We may have to bring in additional crews from even further away.
Wow.
Look at that.
I know.
All right. We thank you so much. We thank you, Alan Harris with Seminole County Emergency Management. We've got a lot of emergency management directors across the area, but I got to tell you, when Alan speaks,
I'm telling you,
people listen.
We sure do.
And he gives us that sense of security that, okay, give it to us straight, just give us all the information, and he always comes through and gives us access to the latest info.
And you can appreciate that because he's
a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, and he gives it to us straight and doesn't sugarcoat.
That's right. Okay, time right now, 5:41. Let's go ahead and check in on the weather, on the ones right now with certified meteorologist Wayne McCann. Okay, we see Klystron 13 right there next to you, so walk us through what we can expect to see in the next few hours.
Yeah, and observing the radar here in the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and Chris Gilson, we're anticipating some of the worst of the impacts, the rain and the wind, the intensity of the bands to be over the Orlando metro area right now, and that extends up towards Sanford. So we have a live picture coming to us from Lake Monroe, and there you can see the very choppy conditions out on the lake and how the winds have been ramping up there. We've seen a wind gust out of the airport in Sanford to 60 miles per hour. And to Orlando International Airport, we've seen the gust to 63 miles per hour. So we expect for those numbers to climb. Here's another perspective of downtown Orlando. We show you this camera all the time in your Weather on the Ones, but not often do we see those trees whipping around like that and those sheets of rain. So that's what's occurring in downtown Orlando. Let's take you to another perspective of North Orange Ave, those slick conditions. Good to see people off the roads, of course. And as we turn to our camera up above, the Weichert Realtors Hallmark Property Sky Cam, yeah, there's more wind-driven rain. We'll get more daylight within the hour, sunrise happening after 6:30 this morning, so that will help us tell the story of what's happening across Central Florida with the effects of Nicole this morning. So this is a 6-hour loop of Klystron 13, and you can watch how that eye was on a course for the Treasure Coast and made landfall around 3 a.m. on North Hutchinson Island. That's just south of Vero Beach, Indian River County. But those intense bands came into Brevard County, and now they are over Orange County and Seminole County, with the impact spreading towards the I-75 corridor as we go throughout the morning. We were just talking about the river flooding and the concerns along the St. John's, and we've been monitoring the river gauges at these reporting sites, and a change from yesterday is that we're now back to major flood stage near Astor. Also near flood stage along the Little Wekiva River, Altamont Springs. Bring back in the hydrograph. We use this a lot during Ian. I know it's a busy graphic. There's a lot going on, but this has a lot of data in it. Comes to us from the USGS and NOAA. The dotted line represents what's happening right now. So at Astor, this particular spot, we have the flood gauge up to 4.22 feet, and it's projected to crest as we go forward throughout the day today, but stay in major flood stage going forward. It won't quite get to the record based on the forecast. That is 4.7 feet, and we'll continue to look at other river gauges throughout the morning. We also have a picture from the Little Wekiva River. I'll step aside, or near there at least, in Seminole County, and that's where we see the wind-driven rain. That is near the gauge of the Little Wekiva River, where we've been observing those river levels. We'll continue to do that throughout the morning as well. But the rainfall totals that we're going to see going forward, again, this is adding on to what has already occurred. The focus is going to shift northwest and into North Florida. Don't forget, we also are on guard for any isolated rotating cells. It's a low likelihood, but the threat is still part of the forecast as Nicole moves across the peninsula on a path right now to the west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. So the timing, I guess we can change that overnight to say this morning, but the peak of the storm with the rain and wind, that's where we are right now. This will all shift north and west. Tonight we'll get those lingering bands of rain. The winds will start to ease, and we have a great looking forecast as we head into the weekend with fall-like air, highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s, but we just got to get through what's happening right now with the intense bands moving over the I-4 corridor and winds to tropical storm force. Ebeth, Curtis?
Thank you for that. The time right now is 5:45. You know, we heard from Florida Power and Light a little bit earlier. Now we're tracking things with another power company.
We sure are. Spectrum News 13's Angie Andrews is live at Tropicana Field, where she's following Duke Energy crews as they safely and quickly respond to outages in the area. Good morning to you, Angie.
Good morning. I guess you'd say pretty similar to Hurricane Ian. That's kind of the response that we're seeing out here when it comes to these crews getting staged and ready for this storm. Now, obviously, we're not seeing a storm even close to what we saw during Hurricane Ian, but the response when it comes to power outage crews getting ready, that's what's pretty similar here. So we're live this morning at Tropicana Field. This is just one of 5 different staging areas across the state, one of them also over in Orlando. There's roughly 5,000 power crews staged outside and waiting right now. Now, just like Ian, we're seeing linemen who have traveled down here from the Midwest and as far as the Carolinas. Now, they all got into place last night, so if your power goes out, yes, our local power companies, of course, they say they are expecting many more outages. The crews here will either head to the spot where the damage occurred, or they'll be able to handle some of the outages from their distribution control center. But I asked that big question so many of us are wondering, how do these power crews prioritize? How do they pick which areas they go to first? So I asked that question to our leaders over at Duke. Take a listen.
We have a very planned out progression for power restoration. We hit major transmission lines, substations, things that feed the most customers first. We take care of that first. Then we go to making sure that hospitals, police stations, fire and EMS, they're restored. Anything that's emergency related, that's our top priority. Then we hit the largest outages and we work our way down.
As we know, really from there, it's just the process of working their way down the line and then finally to those rural area power outages. So Duke Energy this morning, as of this moment, they have about 30,000 outages. Most of them are in Brevard, Volusia, and Orange County. But for now, reporting live, Tropicana Field, I'm Angie Andrews for Spectrum News 13.
Thank you so much for that. And now Jerry with traffic at 547. Hey, Jerry.
Yeah, brand new crash to tell you about. This is Florida's Turnpike. This is northbound here. This is going to be very close to Orange Blossom Trail and the 528. Very serious situation. Looks like a semi-tractor trailer is involved. The camera bouncing around here, so it's really hard to tell, and it's also very dark and slick out there. Looks like there is a right lane that's open, but 3 left lanes that are blocked in this area. We've been watching conditions for that drive. I've seen some of the big flashes indicating that maybe some power has been going out here. This is the beach line near Orlando International Airport out there. Best recommendation is stay off the roads right now. We'll continue to track conditions for that morning drive out there. Going to leave you with this shot here of I-4 here. This is near Seminole County. We're back continuing our coverage of Nicole after this.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you.
Before cheering on the Cats at Rep, we always make sure to stop at Clark's Main Street Market for all the essentials. Return, refresh, refuel.
I am blind, but I need not see. I know this road is there for me.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
Affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
It's so sad. It's
It is 5:51. I'm meteorologist Chris Gilson with Marie McCann and Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick as we continue to track Tropical Storm Nicole, and really seeing the strongest winds right now along the I-4 corridor with the heaviest rain here moving through Orlando, Marine.
Yeah, and these bands of rain are moving along pretty quick, around 40 to 45 miles per hour. So if you're experiencing a downpour, chances are it will exit soon thereafter because it's not going to linger over the same areas. The one thing we just have to watch is any storm training. Some of the bands moving over the same areas as they spiral on shore. Let's take a tour of Clystron 13. If you're just waking up, if the rain and wind was really loud for you, this is about the peak of it for the Orlando metro area. And you can tell why. There's orange and some red embedded. Dr. Phillips to Windermere to Ocoee. And as this pushes to West Orange County, it's going to be approaching a place like Castle Hill at 5:54, Skytop by 5:58, Mohawk 5:59, and then the other band to the north that is moving out of Seminole County, that will be shifting into Lake County. So here are some short-term impacts on where some of those communities will be impacted as the rain, the gusty squalls move to you next. You can see a few more intense pockets near Port Orange, near DeLand, and near Orange City, but also see what's happening offshore with this band of rain that's going to be pivoting inland. And there are some more intense pockets here, and then a closer inspection of Clystron 13 picks up on a few couplets. It's weak rotation rotation, but this is something that's always a concern with the landfalling tropical system because you have winds moving at different directions with height. So we look for the green and the red close together. There are a few areas offshore and over parts of Flagler and northern Volusia County. It's not showing up considerably well on the storm threat graphic. We look for some pockets of brighter yellow and green on this, and it's really not showing up. So again, it's a low threat, but we just want you to be prepared. If we get into any tornado concerns, just be ready to go to the safest place of your safe place. Chances are you're home and you're in a safe place at the moment, but just know an interior room or closet is where you'd want to go. Before we send it back over to Chris, here's a look at the Flagler Beach Pier as the rough surf is there. High tide cycles there between around 8 and 9 o'clock this morning, so we're not even at high tide, and we can see how high the water levels are and what that has done recently to the pier as we saw reports of some additional damage coming in yesterday, Chris.
We'll be watching that storm surge closely as we head towards sunrise and beyond for this morning. We are looking at a tropical storm warning that continues for all of central Florida, and the hurricane warning that we had earlier, that was allowed to be dropped because Nicole has weakened below hurricane status and it's made landfall. As we take you out to, is this Seminole County? Little Wekiva area there in Altamont Springs, you can see the heavier rain coming down and also the wind blowing that rain sideways here, and that's going to be the case here along the I-4 corridor for the next couple of hours. So walking you through the timing of the rain, and basically this is right now, and this forecast model doing a pretty good job handling the position of the rain and the position of Nicole. And as we go through the rest of the morning, notice at 10, 11 o'clock, we're starting to see the heavier rain pushing farther to the north and west. But if you're in Marion, Flagler County, Sumter counties, you may hold on to the rain a little bit longer compared to areas along I-4 and down to the south and to Osceola County and Brevard counties will likely clear out a little bit faster. As we go into the overnight, we could have a few more showers wrapping around the system as it stays away from us. And then on your Friday, most areas will likely be dry, but a few showers can't be ruled out as we head into the day tomorrow. So again, along the coast, we're looking at the worst weather now through about 7, 8 a.m. Still some high winds in Brevard County, then watching for the storm surge there of 3 to 6 feet. Into Osceola County, looking at 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. Those wind gusts likely coming down a bit, but we still could have some stronger gusts on the backside of Nicole as it pulls to the north. In Orlando, we're looking at some of the heaviest rain continuing to fall. That will be the case through the next few hours. Wind gusts still potentially around 50 to 60 miles per hour, and we already had those wind gusts right around 60 miles per hour at the Orlando International Airport. And same story in Sanford. Rainfall there, 2 to 4 inches, and then going into Lake County, we're looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain. Still that potential for gusts up to 50 to 60 miles per hour. So Ebeth and Curtis, we have to get through the next few hours, and then once we go into the afternoon, we'll likely see the weather gradually improve through the day.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Chris.
The intensity of the storm is being felt right now. So if you're just waking up wondering, what is that I'm hearing? Let's go ahead and show you the pictures now as we check in live with Katie Strite, joining us now from Volusia County. And now we continuously see the whipping of the palm trees behind you. Things are definitely picking up there where you are.
Yes, really the wind has been picking up, the rain has been falling down, and a lot of people have evacuated here in South Daytona from the Daytona Beach Shores area, and even in the last hour, and you can hear the gusty winds right now. In the last hour, we saw a family try to go into some of the hotels, but unfortunately, because so many people evacuated, there's no vacancies along the strip of hotels here in South Daytona. Now I want to show you just how full that parking lot is, as well as the gusty winds and how the palm trees right here are blowing because of it. Now we see some folks who are on the road. If you are on the road, it is very slick weather. The roads are completely wet. There is some flooding in the area, and we'll be able to show you guys that sometime soon. So again, we'll continue to follow up with all of this information going on in South Daytona area. Live in South Daytona, Katie Strite, Spectrum News.
Thank you so much. You know, we continue to cover this storm and everything that, comes with it.
That wraps up another hour of our storm coverage. Stay with us. Top of the hour at 6, just about 3 minutes away. We're coming back in a moment with our team of reporters and certified meteorologists.
Spicy buns, spicy sauce, spicy seasoning, spicy jalapenos, ooh, spicy fries. Boy, Arby's getting loose with the spice on the new Diablo sandwiches and fries. Arby's, we have the meat.
Hey, oh. A promise is a trust not to be broken.
I say your name.
Whether spoken with an oath.
Do solemnly swear.
It's your first day. You know I got your back, right?
Or sealed with a pinky. In 1922, a group of soldiers launched USAA with a promise to take care of their own. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community. That's our mission. Always.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
We retail products that help your feet feel great. When your feet feel great, your whole body feels great. I became one of Oprah's favorite things. You can have a successful brand, yes. We still have budgets. I was having a hard time finding a company that would advertise on TV as well as digital, but would work with my budget. The ad portal commercial, way better than what I thought it was going to be. I ran 2 campaigns. They were very successful. I really love using the ad portal.
Making just one connection during recovery from mental and substance use disorders puts the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Available now on the Spectrum News app. News presented by your Central Florida Acura dealers. Exhilaration comes standard.
What you're hearing and what you're seeing is Nicole right now making its way across Central Florida at 6 this morning.
You're watching Spectrum News 13, and we are here giving you the very latest, a front row seat to everything that is happening as this storm moves across our region.
We've got our reporters fanned out across the area, providing you live pictures from the coastal counties and also inland. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Yvette Broussois.
And I'm Curtis McLeod. Again, we have our team of reporters fanned out, being your eyes, your ears, your everything as we make our way through this storm, our second storm we've seen make landfall here in our area.
Yeah, just 6 weeks ago we had Ian, and now we're dealing with Nicole. At the bottom of your screen, if you're waking up trying to catch up, we've got all the updated information. Let's go ahead and continue our live team coverage right now with our team of certified meteorologists by Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick, our leader, and we've got Maureen McCann and also Chris Gilson. So where are we tracking the worst right now?
Well, Ebeth and Curtis, looks like the worst is moving through parts of Orange and Seminole County. We've been watching those wind gusts really increase, Chris, and some camera shots that have been pretty interesting as well.
Live look at our Alyssa.com weather camera in Sanford near Lake Monroe. You can see the camera bouncing around in the wind, and you can also see the palm trees there being blown around in the wind. We had wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour there in Sanford, 63 mile per hour wind gusts at the Orlando International Airport, up to 70 miles per hour in Daytona Beach. And Daytona Beach down to Orlando, Marine, is where we're seeing the heaviest rain right now, with the band setting up on Clystron 13.
Yeah, the focus is shifting out of Brevard County in terms of the heaviest rain. Now that what's left of the center is moving into Osceola County, we are seeing some very heavy rain, wind-driven rain, move over the Orlando metro area, and we're also finding up the I-4 corridor some heavier rain in Volusia County. I think the area to watch next is going to be these clusters coming on shore within this band offshore, Ormond Beach, Holly Hill, Flagler Beach. And there's the small chance for rotation within some of these bands. We see that with any tropical system. Fortunately, it has been low so far, but knock on wood, we are not done with that low tornado threat yet.
And just to piggyback off that one, we do have a tornado watch for parts of the area. I have a feeling it does include Flagler County. We'll graphically get that in. That was just issued just a short time ago. And as we watch the potential for that rotation, Ebath and Curtis, as Maureen was just mentioning, some spin-ups are still possible. We will have that tornado watch just fresh, hot into the Weather Center coming up in just a little bit.
We will definitely be all ears and waiting and watching for any new updates from the Weather Center this morning.
Let's go ahead and start now checking in with our crews in Seminole County. That's where we go right now with, we've got Jesse Canales, who's joining us just steps away from Lake Monroe, and that part of Central Florida is really seeing some bad conditions right now. Hey, Jesse.
Beth, and all morning we've been talking about Lake Monroe Hospital, about a study that Harvard did that showed that this hospital faced a Category 1 hurricane, and they say that there's potential that the water will be inundated inside the hospital. But take a look here. Here's what it looks like right now. The parking lot, a section of the parking lot here at Lake Monroe Hospital is flooded. Now, this happened during Hurricane Ian, which was a Category 1 hurricane, and just like Ian, so far, all the water is limited to that parking lot. You can see the barriers. That's where the water stops and no longer goes anywhere closer to the hospital. And I walked through it, and it was actually knee-deep. And if you're wondering where that water is coming from, it's not only the rain, it's also all the water from Lake Monroe. Look at that. Nicole pushing a lot of Lake Monroe water above the seawall, and all that water is crashing into the roads and some coming in here at the hospital. Now we'll continue to monitor the situation, but for now, reporting live in Sanford, Jesse Canales,
Jesse Canales reporting live there in Sanford, and as bad as that parking area of the hospital looked,
yes,
it actually looked worse because they just covered a bigger, longer chunk in front of the hospital, but it's just their parking area, and as bad as it looked, it was looking worse 6 weeks ago.
It definitely was. I actually drove by too and saw it, and it was, like you said, definitely worse there. So, all right, now we want to go ahead and bring in, I believe at this point in time, we want to go ahead and bring in Will Robinson Smith, track up over to Brevard County now, where he has been most of the morning.
Yeah, and so compared to us, Will, this storm now compared to what you were covering 6 weeks ago with Ian, which one do you think is the worst right now for you?
Here in Brevard, probably Nicole. You know, with Hurricane Ian, we sort of saw it scatter around the Space Coast. Got a little bit of a nicking up in the Titusville Mims area, but the vast majority of Brevard was spared that time around. This go, we're getting a lot of wind, and that's really being the driver of the impacts at this hour. More than 53,000 customers have been knocked out at this hour. But we did have a chance to get some video in the area where we are right now. We're at Titusville, again, near Kennedy Space Center. This is what it looks like around here. Now that we're getting a little bit later on in the morning, some of the crews that are staying here at this hotel, waking up, getting ready to hit the road. And that includes FBL and some of the arborists from across the Southeast, including Evergreen, Alabama. We spoke with one of those men, and he said a silver lining of tonight is that a lot of the vulnerable trees that they may have to deal with were already assessed during Hurricane Ian, which was the last storm that they responded to.
Well, you know, it's a different storm, and different way it's coming in. We weren't right by the surge last time, so, you know, it's not going to be as bad, but Ian was a big mess. I think a lot of the tree clearing and whatnot that we do has already been done for Ian just a month ago, so we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, and it's a wait-and-see game for a lot of the crews out here because, as you can see behind me, the wind's slightly calmer right now, but still whipping around a good piece here on the Space Coast. So they have to kind of wait for some of the winds to die down, especially if they need to get up in the bucket trucks and respond to some of those downed trees impacting power lines and causing a lot of these outages. Reporting live here in Titusville, Will Robinson Smith, Spectrum News 13.
All right, Will, thank you so much for that live report. I know earlier we spoke spoke with a representative from Florida Power and Light, and they were saying that they were waiting till those winds got down to about 35 miles per hour, and then they would send crews out to kind of assess and start restoring power.
Because right now it's not safe for anybody.
Not at all.
Speaking of power, we want to share with you some video that we got earlier this morning from Melbourne, showing what appears to be, I mean, it's a transformer explosion in the distance. That's what that pop and those different colors are. One of our viewers, Aaron Miller, thank you for sending in this video to us earlier this morning. You can see the sky lighting up over the trees, and we're getting reports from our different reporters out in the field, seeing this kind of stuff out in the distance. According to the Florida Power and Light, the numbers continue to go up. Sadly, a couple hours ago in Brevard County, they were looking at 17,000. Then the number went up to 21,000+.
Right now we're at 71,000.
Look at that.
71,560.
Which makes sense, because whenever the wind is whipping up in the storm, it's on the move, literally, then we start to see the numbers go up because the power is going out. Chris Gilson is joining us now with a quick look that we can expect when you come back here looking about the forecast.
Yeah, we have a new tornado watch that includes Flagler County that runs until 1 o'clock this afternoon. We have some heavy bands of rain working into Volusia County and Flagler County. We'll time out the rain. Take a look at that tornado watch when we come back with Flagler 13. There's a look at the watch that runs until 1 o'clock. That's just for Flagler County.
Looking for cash? Well, look no more. Alton Blakely's got cash? Is that cash, Daniel?
Yep.
And you're giving cash for cars?
Yep. For real? Yep.
Why not? Then on down to Alton Blakely, where selling your car is as easy as ABC. If you have a vehicle you'd like to sell or trade, it's fast and easy to get paid. And we'll give you top dollar. Visit Alton Blakely today. All the best since 1965.
Better hearing starts when you make the call. I did with Audibel of Central Kentucky.
You can too. Call Audibel today for a free hearing exam at one of our 7 area locations.
Number one, obviously, is safety. We definitely call 811 to find out if there are any buried lines, fiber optic, whether it be telephone or pipeline or anything. Don't take a chance. Don't think you know and say, well, I don't remember anything being put in there. Call 811 and make sure that that's identified, that there isn't something there before you make that crossing. Because in the end, we want everybody going home.
Blackberry Russell, what a play by Bill Russell!
I just arrived to get my COVID shot, and this is one shot I won't block.
Gratitude to a great ball club for courageous efforts.
No Celtics were harmed during my shot. Let's do this together. To learn more about vaccines, visit cdc.gov.
We farm about 3,500 acres. There's pipelines everywhere. The contractor working on my property did not have the lines located before he began work, and it resulted on a strike on a natural gas pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse. Calling 811 or visiting clickbeforeyoudig.com in the U.S. only takes minutes to do, and it can save your life.
Now on this Thursday morning, I'm meteorologist Chris Gilson with Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and Marie McCann, and we have a new tornado watch that includes one of our counties here in Central Florida, that being Flagler County. Runs until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so that means conditions are favorable for a couple of cells to potentially rotate and develop a brief tornado. So we're going to be watching that risk as we head through the rest of the morning into the early afternoon. Wider view of what's going on with Tropical Storm Nicole. Winds are at 70 miles per hour. We'll get another update here at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock. You can see the band of heavier rain setting up from right along the coast in Flagler County, Volusia County, back now into Marion County, and even along the Gulf Coast around Tampa. They're getting some tropical storm force winds. Winds have been really strong along our east coast during the overnight hours. Now we're seeing the strongest winds a little bit farther west, farther inland, along the I-4 corridor, winds gusting over 60 miles per hour in Daytona Beach and Sanford, 52-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Orlando. So as Nicole continues to track across Central Florida, we are looking at that heavy rain, high wind threat, and even to the north, that chance for a few tornadoes to potentially develop. Some of this heavy rain working over the Orlando metro area. Notice along the 528 in eastern Orange County starting to clear out a little bit, so the heavier activity pushing back to the west into Claremont, Leesburg, and the Villages. So we didn't see much activity during the overnight in Sumter and Marion counties. That's changing now with some steadier rain heading your way. And this rain stretches up into Volusia County, over DeLand, Orange City, down into Seminole County and Sanford, Daytona Beach, Port Orange, everything rotating around the center of Nicole, out of the Atlantic, and up toward Flagler Beach and Palm Coast. We're going to go up here into Flagler Beach and Palm Coast and Ormond Beach in northern Volusia County, put a pause on the radar, and it's really this area here, these bands that are coming off the Atlantic and into Flagler County, that we are going to have to watch for maybe that potential for some rotation. So as we take a look at the winds and going inside what's going on here with some of this heavier activity here in Flagler County and right off the coast, getting some of that higher wind gusts, potentially around 40 to 50 miles per hour, just to the east of Palm Coast and Flagler Beach. So the winds will continue to pick up here along the coast and along the I-95 corridor in Flagler County. We'll take another look here at that potential for some rotation. And we're not seeing anything overly significant here, but this is going to be the area that we watch as we go through the remainder of the morning into the afternoon for that potential for a tornado or two there in Flagler County. So everything's along I-4, points to the east, a little bit of a break here in portions of Brevard County, but we could have some higher winds return to Brevard County as we go through the morning. So Nicole is going to continue to track to the west and northwest areas west of I-4. We'll see some of the heavier rain and the higher winds likely through about 10, 11 o'clock. And notice most of us start to really clear out pretty quickly. As early as noon, 1 o'clock, we could see the stronger activity focus around Nicole, farther to the north across northern Florida into southern Georgia, and then on the back side of it, we start to clear things out as we head into the overnight hours, and the weekend is looking a lot better. So the headline this hour now is that we have a brand new tornado watch for Flagler County that runs until 1 o'clock. We'll have another update coming up in less than 10 minutes. Curtis, Annie Beth?
All right, thank you so much for that, Chris. Time right now is 6:14 as you continue to join us here on Spectrum News 13. You know, Flagler County residents along the coast and A1A have asked to evacuate because of the storm. And we just learned, right, from our severe weather experts that there's a tornado watch in Flagler County until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Let's go ahead and show you a live look. There it is at that pier as we've been bringing you live pictures. Here's how I'm describing this thing. We would see layers of waves. The edges of those waves were white. Now we just see solid white, and it's pounding wave after wave, pounding the shoreline. And as we pan over to the right, we see just the wind flapping those hazard, block, the tape that's been put up hours ago, actually yesterday. And it's just a really bad situation there. But you know who's there? Nick Popham. Let's go ahead and check in with him live now to see what is happening. And we see the wind whipping up behind you there, my friend.
Yeah, Beth, it really makes a difference these last 40 minutes. It makes sense that we're now in a tornado watch here in Flagler County. The wind has picked up drastically from the last time we spoke with you guys just 40 minutes ago. Behind me here is the Atlantic Ocean. We're here at Flagler Beach, and the waves have progressively picked up and gotten even stronger. Just a few minutes ago, saw some waves actually make it right to where this area is behind me here and crashing up against the wall. It's only happening at rare occasions, so it's not something to be overtly concerned with yet, but it's something that we're taking into consideration as the morning progresses to see if we need to move a little further back from the shoreline, making sense that this area was evacuated because, man, this storm has really just picked up within the last few minutes. Seeing some signs teeter back and forth, looking like they could be potentially ripped off, and it's, again, something that we weren't seeing just a few minutes ago, and now it's really just started to pick up. So when the sun comes up, we'll be able to have a better idea as to what the area looks like. For now, it's just feeling the gusts make its way through Flagler Beach and just trying to stay upright as this wind continues to push. But we'll continue to monitor it and give you the very latest. But for now, live in Flagler Beach, I'm Nick Popham. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, thank you so much for that. Nick Popham reporting live there from Flagler County. Again, if you're just joining us in that part of Central Florida, Flagler County, they are under tornado watch until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Again, we invite you to look at the very bottom of your screen. Our producers are constantly updating the information about closures and any other details. Jerry Hume joining us now, coming back into the mix to show us and explain to us the new information regarding the hazards on the roadways right now.
Yeah, and Beth, a brand new crash on the Turnpike. This is going to be Florida's Turnpike. This is southbound at the 408, and we've got 2 left lanes are blocked. You can see there is a little bit more of a traffic out there here now in the 6 o'clock hour. Again, we recommend you stay off the roads because still dealing with those hazardous conditions. Another crash on the Turnpike. This is Florida's Turnpike northbound at the beach line. We've got this semi-tractor trailer. It is sideways here. You can see traffic's getting by in a single right lane, but it is slow going out there. Over on the coast, want to take you there. This is a look at conditions for our drive on State Road 40 and Nova Road. No vehicles on the road, still under that curfew right there, so that is good news, keeping everyone out of the at home right now and keeping them off the roads. On the 408, watching some slick conditions. This is going to be 408 near 50. We'll continue to track the latest with Nicole with another update from Maureen and Chris. It's coming up. We'll leave you with this shot right now. You're watching Spectrum News 13.
I am blind, but I need not see. I know this road is there for me.
This is living proof that there can be life beyond cancer. At Baptist Health, we've treated more patients with breast, colon, and lung cancer than any other health system in Kentucky and southern Indiana. Early detection can help lead to better outcomes. To find out more about our cancer risk assessments and early screening options, visit baptisthealth.com/cancercare.
Individuals in every community are living in recovery from mental and substance use disorders. Begin your recovery journey. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
On December 7, 2005, I was deployed to Baghdad, Iraq. As I was searching for the bomb, the bad guy and the bomb found me first. After the explosion, I was left with a 1% chance of living. During my road to recovery, I had a tremendous amount of support from friends and families and the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes. The primary mission of the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes is to offer financial emergency assistance to veterans and their families.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful when Mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. I wanted a better relationship with Dad, so I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I'm sure glad I did. Is someone's drinking troubling you? You might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
You feel connected, especially with the morning news. You hear about the weather, the traffic. It's everything you need to get out the door and feel like you're ready to tackle the day.
Your morning news on Spectrum News 13.
Morning. I'm meteorologist Chris Gilson with Marie McCann and Chief Meteorologist Brian Carey. Getting a lot of new wind reports coming in.
Yeah, 66 miles per hour out of Orlando Executive Airport. That's what I was just reading over here. There's a lot of reports to keep up with, especially knowing that the peak of the winds is happening right now for the Orlando metro area and soon to be shifting west and to the north.
And new this hour, we're also watching that potential for a few tornadoes, mainly to the north of our area. And we're seeing the yellow, that's a tornado watch watch for Flagler County. That stretches up toward the Jacksonville area. Watch means conditions are favorable for a few cells to try and rotate, maybe spin up a brief tornado, which is par for the course when we have a tropical system rolling across the region. We've been fortunate during the overnight hours that hasn't been a major concern, but we could see that with some of the activity that is moving off the coast of the Atlantic waters and pushing into Flagler County. A live look at downtown Orlando from the Whitecurt Realtors Hallmark Property Skycam. The rain coming down, you can tell the camera kind of bouncing around in the higher winds that we have in place, with those winds around 60 miles per hour, 66 miles per hour to Orlando Executive Airport. So we're seeing the heavier bands stretching from around Jacksonville into St. Johns County and Flagler County, and then back into the Tampa area. So Nicole, having a wide spread impacts here from northern Florida back toward the Gulf Coast and even down to Fort Myers, seeing some of the heavier rain as we begin this Thursday. And as we go through the rest of the morning, we'll see some of the heavier rain kind of shifting back to the west along I-4 through Lake and Sumter and Marion counties. Sumter and Marion counties have been fairly quiet for the most part, but we're seeing the heavier pockets of rain kind of filling in around Ocala, Bellevue, the villages, Wildwood, Bushnell, and Terrytown. Seeing some of the heavier rain, but we're seeing the activity kind of break up a little bit as far as the rain goes in Brevard County and Osceola County. So along I-4, Orlando, stretching down toward Polk County, into Volusia County, and up toward Flagler County is where the heaviest activity is. So I mentioned Flagler County is under that tornado watch. We don't have any warnings right now, but we're going to be watching for this activity that's coming off the coast, for that potential that we could see some rotation. You can see that here we're seeing the shades of lights greens off the coast of Flagler County, that maybe some of that activity could try to rotate a bit as it gets a little bit closer. But again, no warnings at this time. It's just something that we have to be aware of. So if you're in Marineland, Palm Coast, Flagler Beach, Bunnell, have ways to get weather alerts through the morning, and we of course will bring you any weather alerts as we get them. So a lot of rain across the area, and that's a big concern after all the flooding that we had after Ian. And with a look at the latest on the water along the St. Johns River, let's send it back over to Maureen.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, bring back in our river flood graphic. We used this a lot during Ian because so often we were in major flood stage, and we made some progress seeing those levels start to go down the last few weeks, but now they're back up to major flood stage in Astor along the St. Johns. That's moderate flooding, so the next tier down for DeLand and above Lake Harney. Also monitoring the Little Wekiva River at Altamont Springs. So the St. Johns River has made it into major flood stage. It is projected to crest at 4.3 feet, and that's where it is right now. We get hourly updates in, so this is from the 5:30 report. We'll get new information in with 6:30. That's when this gauge releases the hydrograph, but going forward you can see it's going to be in major flood stage. That's everything from the dotted line to the right. That's looking ahead through Tuesday on what that river level will do. So Chris, I know we're going to be looking at additional wet weather as we see the rainfall today, but at least it's not going to be something that lasts for much longer than tomorrow.
No, we're actually going to see a clearing and improving conditions maybe as early as noon, 1 o'clock. So this is beginning right now, and this is a look at where the placement is of the rain, which is basically what I just showed you a moment ago on Klystron 13. So this forecast model has a pretty good handle on the placement of the heavier rain. So as we go into 11 o'clock noon, we could see most of the stronger weather kind of shifting back to the north and west away from central Florida. And as we go into the evening tonight, 7 to 8 o'clock, outside of still maybe some windy conditions and some spotty showers on the southern side of Nicole, looking a lot better as we go into this evening and as we head into your Friday. So the worst of the weather is really over the next few hours, and we're going to be watching for the storm surge threat here in Brevard County and Volusia County as we go toward high tide, which is going to occur around 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We'll have more on that potential and also the latest on Nicole coming up as we head toward the next half hour. Beth and Curtis?
Thank you, Chris Kilson. Okay, time right now is 6:26 as you're just waking up. We're gathering more information from our crews that are fanned out across the area. We want to go ahead and keep things in-house for just a little bit. Ashley Mills joining us live once again from our control room to give us the very latest details. By the way, it's my first time working with you. I know you were gone for a couple of months to have your baby, and now you're back at work here at Spectrum News. So what you got for us now?
What a time to rejoin you guys. A lot going on right now, but this is the new normal, almost. We'll get past this, and then maybe things will be a little bit more normal. But to follow up on what Maureen was saying about some of the flooding concerns in Seminole County, that's what we want to focus on right now. So a lot of that water left over from Ian, as the emergency manager told us. These are images, though, in Sanford, just of Lake Monroe. It just kind of gives you an idea overnight of how violent the wind was, those waves cresting over the banks there, and just kind of shows you the amount of water coming in and that rain really causing some flooding concerns, all things considered. The emergency manager of Seminole County said that was the real focus right now, and he spoke to us on conditions just a little bit ago. Take a listen.
We already had, of course, water on the roadway, believe it or not, from Hurricane Ian. That was just starting to go away along the St. Johns River in some areas, and unfortunately, this is just going to compound that. And then some localized flooding as well. So we've had quite a few traffic crashes this morning, so we're asking people, if you have to get out, please don't. If you don't have to get out, but if you have to get out, please drive carefully. Traffic signals, some traffic signals are out now. We have a little over right at 4,500 customers without power, so some of those will be traffic signals, and be very, very careful as you're driving around. Already quite a few accidents today.
Of course, our experts are always on top of the traffic and weather updates. We're also tracking those power outages for you, and we'll continue to check in throughout the morning. Live in the control room, Ashley Mills, Spectrum News 13.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Time right now is 6:28. Don't go anywhere. We come back. We have more local coverage. I want to remind you that Flagler County is under a tornado watch until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Live pictures on the screen of the Flagler Beach Pier. We'll be right back, everybody.
Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. It is the exploitation of a person through force, fraud, or coercion. Human smuggling and human trafficking are different crimes. Human smuggling is the illegal movement of someone across a border. Human trafficking is the illegal exploitation of a person.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
It's so sad.
It's not good.
Your morning news presented by your Central Florida Acura dealers. Exhilaration comes standard.
We Wind-driven rain, power outages, storm surge. This is happening right now across Central Florida.
Yeah, and we have crews all across the region here to help you get through it as we make our way to daylight.
We're pausing and pivoting because now is when we're feeling the most intense impacts of the storm. So glad you're with us in the overnight hours, and now we're live at 6:31. I'm Ibeth Brusual.
And I'm Curtis McLeod. We continue team coverage right now as we continue to track Nicole across the Sunshine State. Not so sunshine right now, but we'll get back there this weekend. We've got a crew with us, helping you get through all of this.
Yeah, and we're watching things literally turn and change by the minute, I would say. Let's go ahead and check in with our severe weather experts right now. We've got our chief, Brian Carrick, Maureen McCann, and Chris Gilson. Take it away from here, guys.
Beth and Curtis, speaking of sun, we are actually looking at sunrise this morning at 6:44. Obviously not going to see sunrise, but we are starting to see some light. And Chris, images from our cameras are getting a little more impressive now.
Yeah, the rough surf, and as the sun begins to come up and the cameras get a little bit more light, we are going to see sights like this. Dangerous surf along our east coast and a lot of coastal erosion, and we saw yesterday throughout the day in Volusia County and along the coast in Flagler County what the waves were doing to the coastline. So we're going to be getting close to the tides, the high tides that is, as we head toward about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Here's a look at those tide times. In Daytona Beach, high tide today is at 8:53, and then in Cocoa Beach, 8:36. So the storm surge is going to become a big factor here in about 2 hours as we approach that time for high tide. Maureen?
And yeah, we also have the threat for rotation with some of these cells in addition to the coastal hazards and the surge. Any of these cells moving on shore, particularly in Flagler County, may spin up an isolated tornado. That's where the tornado watch is, and it goes up towards St. Augustine, the Jacksonville area. So far, we have not seen much rotation, but an area to watch. These cells offshore, and I was just making comments here with Brian Carrick about how we're starting to see lightning offshore. That's always a sign of intensification in some of these bands. So that's what we'll be watching here with your forecast throughout the morning as team coverage continues with Tropical Storm Nicole.
All right, thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Now we're tracking how Nicole is impacting the roads everywhere.
Yeah, our traffic expert, Jerry Hume, joining us now live at 6:33. Good morning to you, Jerry. So no Sunrail, no links. Who's out on the roads? Who knows?
Yeah, you shouldn't be out on the roads. That's the main takeaway from officials across our area right now because you could get involved in a crash. And we're tracking multiple wrecks, especially on the beach line, right, or on the turnpike, I should say. Right here behind me, we've got a flipped over vehicle. This is Florida's turnpike. And this is going to be southbound right before the 429. It's blocking 2 left lanes. Yeah, first responders are out there. The rain is coming down in this spot. Another crash for you. This is also on the turnpike. This is going to be northbound here at the beach line. It involves a semi-tractor trailer blocking 3 left lanes. In total, we are tracking 4 crashes on the turnpike right now. So yeah, stay home if you can and try not to drive on the roads. If you do, certainly use caution. We'll continue to track conditions. We'll show you portions of the coast coming up, but for now, we'll toss it back to Beth and Curtis.
All right, Jerry, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Now, as Nicole continues to bring down heavy rains across Central Florida, it also begins to undo much of the progress St. Johns River made in the past few weeks.
Yes, Hurricane Ian causing catastrophic flooding around many cities near the river, including Sanford, that historic area that's so pretty, has been punished by these storms. Let's go ahead and check in right now with Jesse Canales, who is right there by Lake Monroe. Jesse, you've been out there for hours now, so reports show St. Johns River water levels near Sanford are rising once again.
That's right, Beth. Right now, according to the National Weather Service, is a little more than 6.6 and expect that to keep rising over the next coming days. But now with a little more sunlight, we get to see what Lake Monroe looks like during this storm. And over here, you can see the waves still crashing over the seawall. They don't look as vicious as they once did earlier, but as I say that, the wind is picking up, and so are the waves. But a lot of that water from Lake Monroe is making its way onto the roads, and Lake Monroe in this storm is not only bringing water, it's also bringing debris. If we go pan over here, you can see lots of those palm tree debris. Look at those chunks of palm trees all over the road, all over the street. That's been happening all night. and that's been a big issue here in Seminole County. They've been working hard for that debris to pick up and also to try to make some progress in St. John's River. Like you guys mentioned, it was making progress over the past couple of weeks, but the storm is kind of pushing it in that other direction for now. We're now reporting live in Sanford. Jessica Nowlis, Spectrum News 13.
Thank you for that, Jesse. It's one thing to have our severe weather experts for hours telling us what is going to happen and then seeing it come to fruition, and it's really picking up there in that part of Seminole County.
It surely is, and you can just tell from the last time we talked to Jesse, and we're seeing the wind, the rain getting a little bit, worse and worse each time.
Absolutely. Now we pause and pivot, talking about Governor Ron DeSantis just yesterday said that there are thousands of utility crews on standby. They're at the ready to respond once it is safe to deal with the aftermath of the storm. We've spoken with FPNL a few hours ago already this morning, talking about the utility situation. Now, Duke Energy also has the crews on standby in Tropicana Field on the other side of I-4.
Yeah, joining us now is Anna Gibbs, or I should say Anna Gibbs, with Duke Energy. And Anna, what kind of resources are already staged for this storm?
So right now we have approximately 5,000 state of Florida, not only at Tropicana Field, but also in areas like the Villages, Mount Dora, DeLand. So they're really throughout the state. We move them as close as possible to areas that we feel are safe, so those crews and materials are not threatened by the storm. But we also place them in areas where we think they'll be close enough so that they are able to rapidly respond as soon as the storm passes through the area.
What kind of new technology does Duke Energy have to deal with these power outages? I know that we checked earlier this morning with FPNL. They were saying that they have some things that they can have at their disposal that can make things go faster when they're trying to restore power. What about you guys?
So this may be similar, but we have something called self-healing technology where basically our power can reroute itself when something like a tree hits a line, much like your GPS. So your GPS reroutes you through bad traffic. Our lines reroutes itself throughout any sort of, for example, tree that may hit a line that literally restores power automatically without us having to basically do anything. We don't even have to roll a truck. So for example, to give you a real life situation, we just went through Hurricane Ian. During Hurricane Ian, that self-healing technology was able to save our customers over 200 million minutes of outages that they never experienced because of this kind of technology.
All right, and we were talking about local numbers. What numbers are you seeing right now in our area?
Sure. So across the state, it's about 50,000 customers. We basically serve 2 million customers across the state, specifically in your area. Pretty much Orange County is the one that's getting hardest hit, about 25,000 customers for specifically Duke Energy customers. And then if you move over to Seminole, we're seeing about roughly 10,000 customers there. And then moving slightly over to Volusia County, we have about 8,000 customers in Volusia County. Of course, right now we're still dealing with the rain and the wind. Our bucket trucks cannot go up in the air until those winds die down to under 30 miles an hour. Again, we have crews staged nearby. As soon as those winds die down, we will be hitting the road and getting basically attacking those outages as quickly and safely as possible.
That's the question I was going to ask you. How quickly will you guys get out there? I know it'll take some time, especially waiting on those winds to die down.
So we have meteorologists on staff. They're tracking those winds and, of course, the rain. We anticipate that hopefully later this morning, the winds are going to die down low enough that we can get out there. So basically, that's not just for the, of course, safety of our crews, but the safety of our customers. We don't want to make any of these situations worse. And just a quick safety tip, especially for, your particular area that is super saturated. You just mentioned that with rains from Ian and previous storms. If you are in an area that could be flooded, turn off your breaker it's in your garage. So turn off your breaker so that you proactively turn off your electricity. Water and electricity don't mix. That's a danger to your family, your pets, and even to your property. It's a fire danger. So it's a quick safety tip. Keep your family and, of course, your pets safe. I think safety comes first, even though we understand that, of course, losing your electricity is an inconvenience.
All right. Thank you so much, Anna Gibbs. We appreciate you
Thank
for
you.
chatting with us with the Duke Energy. Thank you so much.
And we continue now at just about 6:41. So let's toss it back over to our severe weather experts. Quick heads up. They've been talking about this, that Flagler County tornado watch in effect until when again, Chris Gilson?
1 o'clock this afternoon, Beth, but that's right. Flagler County tornado watch. That means conditions are favorable. So we don't have a warning, so you don't have to take action right now, but we could have a warning pop up as we're watching some of the stronger activity. This is a live look at the Flagler Beach Pier, and you can just see the waters there, the angry waters along the pier there, and that likely will only unfortunately get worse as we have these bands setting up along the coast, and we're also looking at that high tide right around 9 o'clock, so we're going to be watching the storm surge there for Flagler County and stretching down our east coast into Brevard County. A live look at the Lista.com weather camera in Sanford, looking at Lake Monroe, where we've had wind gusts around 60 miles per hour. You can see there at Lake Monroe the trees blowing in the wind, and it's just not looking very good right now as the most intense bands of rain are setting up along the I-4 corridor. There's a look at the tornado watch for Flagler County that runs until 1 o'clock. So that's the only county in our area that is under the watch. We were watching overnight for that potential for some areas to maybe rotate, but we haven't seen that yet to lead to maybe a brief tornado spin up. However, it looks like to the north here around Palm Coast and just off the coast of Flagler County, as Maureen was pointing out a moment ago, about 10 minutes ago, some of this lightning here with some of the stronger cells that are beginning to work to the west. So we'll take a look at that potential for maybe a little bit of rotation there off the coast, but it's nothing significant that is grabbing our attention. But there are a couple of areas here that may be trying to rotate a bit. So we'll watch this as it nears Palm Coast and Flagler Beach, but again, no warnings at this time, just something that we have to be aware of here around Flagler County and to the north of Flagler County, closer to the Jacksonville area, a little bit of a greater risk for some tornadoes today. Brevard County, you're still contending with the high winds along with Osceola County, but the rain has let up and we're seeing the heavier rain right along the I-4 corridor, stretching into Lake County and back into the I-75 corridor in Ocala and also into portions of Sumter County. So Nicole's moving pretty fast to the west and northwest at around 14 miles per hour. Full advisory will come up here at 7 o'clock. And it looks like we'll start to see some of our weather potentially improve a bit as we head into the afternoon, but still a long ways to go. And notice these winds here. I showed you the camera there in Sanford at Lake Monroe really bouncing around, and those winds gusting over 60 miles per hour up to 64 miles per hour. And there's another live look at the Flagler Beach pier there as those heavy downpours continue to move in from the Atlantic. Over 50 miles per hour in Orlando right now and a 48 mile per hour wind gust in Melbourne. So here's a look at Clystron 13 Futurecast showing you the path of Nicole and the rain associated with Nicole. So this is right now. Then as we put Futurecast into motion, as we head toward noon, you can see the worst of the weather, at least as far as the rain goes, starts to pull to the west and northwest out of our area. Still on the backside, we could have some rain and maybe still some gusty winds at times, but it won't be anything like we have right now. So once we get into the afternoon and evening hours, we'll start to see our weather gradually improve a bit, and that will be the case as we head into the weekend. We'll break down more on the hazards that we're expecting this morning coming up in less than 10 minutes, and we'll break down the latest path too once we get it, the latest advisory that is coming up here at about 7 o'clock. Beth and Curtis.
All right, thank you so much, Chris Gilson. We appreciate you. We want to go ahead now and continue our live team coverage with Katie Streit, who is live right now from South Daytona Beach.
I hear flooding is becoming an issue over there.
Yes, actually, if you see behind me, you can see there's a flash flood area right over there. Some folks were looking at it just a second ago, but that just shows you the dangers right after a storm, and actually it's still during the storm, that drivers need to pay attention to if they are out on the roads and if they absolutely need to be out on the road, that is. Now, we are also seeing some flashes, so there might be some power outages in this area. There are a lot of folks out in South Daytona right now because a lot of people had to evacuate the Daytona Beach Shores area. So we're going to continue. Now that it's light outside, we're able to see what the roads are looking like, what our area is looking like. So we'll be able to continue covering this area as well as the damages and debris and flooding that we're seeing and that we're hearing that's in this environment. So we'll keep you guys updated with all of that pertinent information. Live in Daytona Beach, Katie Strite, Spectrum News.
Isn't that scary? You could see that road just covered over her shoulder, underneath the traffic lights, covered. That was not the case before. You would see just the asphalt, but now the water is taken over.
Water. That's pretty, like you said, it's pretty impressive there.
Yeah, because it's fine 1 minute and then 3 hours later it's different. Okay, so mandatory evacuations. Hopefully people heeded the warning, right? Because that's in effect in parts of Volusia County, including those living in manufactured homes east of I-95 and all campsite and RV recreational parks. Also, there's a curfew in effect that started last night at 7 in that part of Central Florida, and it is about to expire at 7 a.m., so in less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, so a little bit of time people may be able to get back if they need to.
Right, if it gets extended, we'll let you know.
Definitely, definitely. All right, we want to show you this video right now out of Melbourne. We showed it a little bit earlier, but if you're just now joining us, take a look at this. This shows what appears to be a transformer explosion in the distance. Viewer Aaron Miller sent this to us just a while ago, earlier this morning. You can see the sky lighting up over the trees. According to Florida Power and Light, I want to go ahead and give you those updates. We've been looking at it all morning right here. Earlier this morning, that was 17,000, and that was way, way, way earlier this morning. Right now, I'm going to give you the update, what we're looking at. This is just in Brevard County. Over in Brevard County, we're looking at 71,500 customers.
And it went from like 17 to 21,000, and those numbers keep going up because the way that the wind is picking up, that's when the power starts to go out.
Absolutely, you know, and we'll probably, like you say, we'll see more of it happen as the morning goes on. So.
Okay. At the bottom of your screen, we're also inviting you to take a look at the information that's constantly being updated. And you know where else? We've got that information on the Spectrum News app, which you can download for free this morning. And once you open up the actual app, you can just tap the app right there and see all the different information about where to find resources for power outages or any flooding issues across Central Florida.
I love it because we have the free, the wall is open right now, so people can take advantage of it.
Share that with friends and family out of state.
It's so important to do that now, especially during these times.
Okay, our director, I don't know if you can show us that crazy picture from Flagler Beach, and I know it's Flagler Beach because as far as the eye can see, it's just covered with that coating of the white foam.
Look at it, I'm telling you. Geez.
It's so scary and beastly. It looks like a movie, but this is just reality. It's a real nightmare.
It really is a stark contrast from what we were seeing overnight now that the sun's coming up.
Yep, and Flagler Beach, Flagler County, I should say, Flagler County is under a tornado watch until 1 o'clock this afternoon. You're watching Spectrum News. We'll be right back with, we're checking in with our certified meteorologist in just a moment. Stay with us, everybody.
A promise is a trust not to be broken. Whether spoken with an oath.
Do solemnly swear.
It's your first day. You know I got your back, right?
Or sealed with a pinky. In 1922, a group of soldiers launched USAA with a promise to take care of their own. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community. That's our mission. Always.
This place that I call. I want to explain it to her like
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser powers through tough messes, so it makes it look like I spent hours cleaning.
And you know I didn't.
It makes my running shoe look like new. It's amazing.
Wow, it makes it look like I don't have kids at all.
It's so good. It makes it look like I have magical powers.
And when wipes won't cut it, Magic Eraser sheets make it look like food doesn't explode every day.
Wow, they make it look like I don't even live here.
Magic Eraser and sheets make cleaning look easy.
This place that I call. I want to explain it to her like
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how, and we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids need to know the dangers and how to avoid them. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids, because when you talk, they hear you.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out. Good night.
And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
It is 6:51 on this Thursday morning, the latest 7 o'clock advisory coming in right now, and we are seeing further weakening with Nicole. It's still a tropical storm, but the winds have come down from 70 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour here with the latest advisory.
But the placement has the center low pressure about 30 miles from Orlando as it moves to the west-northwest. A very active scene still on Clystron 13 as this rain moves across the peninsula, but impacts are still being felt from coast to coast.
Yeah, you can see how far the reaching impacts are from Nicole, from basically southeast Georgia, Jacksonville, down toward Tampa, even around Fort Myers, picking up heavy rain. And we'll take a look at the rain here locally coming up in just a moment. The other thing that we're going to be watching as we head toward 8 o'clock is the tide. We are reaching high tide at 8:30, 9 o'clock along our east coast, and you can see that we're not even at high tide right now, and how far the water is up along the coast here from the Bogue Munz & Munz weather camera at Shepherd Park, Cocoa Beach. So those wave heights are upwards of 10 to 15 feet right along our coast. And then once we get to high tide, that will likely tack on another 3 to 5 feet in spots there along our coast. So we are looking at storm surge forecast there stretching from Flagler County down into Brevard County of 3 to 5 plus feet. Again, those tide times here at Daytona Beach are at 8:53 for high tide, and then at Cocoa Beach 8:36. So we saw yesterday throughout the day what it was doing along the coast with the rough ocean conditions, the coastal erosion, and that's going to continue today, and that storm surge will be a concern during the 8, 9 o'clock hour. Maureen?
Yeah, so in addition to coastal flooding, because of the water coming up higher than usual and the risk of storm surge, we have the rain that is coming down heavily, but it's moving pretty quickly. This isn't an Ian situation where some of that heavy rain is going to linger. In fact, look at Brevard County. You have seen the rain let up quite a bit. There's still more on the southern extent of the storm that needs to pivot around, so you're not done yet. But I want to bring your attention to Flagler County, where we have a tornado watch in effect. And we've seen some weak rotation with some of these cells. We've also seen a little bit of lightning offshore. The latest scan of the radar, as I pause it to show you the latest view, no lightning is showing up now. Lightning always tends to mean that the storms are intensifying. But there has been a little bit of rotation. We'll take you in for a product that shows you the velocity, and it shows you how the movement is within these bands of rain. We look for these couplets of red and green or red and gray close together. I'm not seeing anything very pronounced. There are a few clusters of the red and green close together, but another product that we can use on Clystron 13 to verify that is the shear rate. We look for these pockets of brighter yellow and green to show where winds are turning with height, and there isn't a great deal of that right now. A few areas offshore marine land. This will also be associated with some stronger winds. So this is going to be an area that there could be a brief spin up. We see that typically with any landfalling tropical system, but the threat has been low overall with this one. But still, ongoing rain, wind-driven rain. This is moving pretty much from east to west across northern Flagler County, places like Marineland, Palm Coast, and Flagler Beach. I know we've been checking in from time to time with the camera in Flagler Beach, and we've been able to see that rough surf, and now that we're into daylight, those cameras are going to be in better view for us. We'll be checking in on those throughout the morning. But as we go to the overall view, as what's left of the center of the storm moves from Osceola into northern Polk counties, the metro area seeing the last of this squall move through. This produced some strong winds. We had gusts in the range of 60 miles per hour, so Orlando International Airport and Orlando Executive. But now that is moving across Windermere, Claremont, a lightning strike just starting to show up there too in Lake County. So this is a more area-wide threat for us with the rain from coast to coast, but our concerns at the immediate coast are going to be over the next 2 hours or so as we approach high tide, and we'll be watching that on our cameras. Of course, we welcome your pictures coming in on the Spectrum News app as well, and we'll have much more next hour with new information on Nicole.
So it'll be you and me, and then I guess if we want to take a break, Curtis comes back.
All right, thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Right now, we want to go ahead and give you a quick look of what's on the roads with real-time traffic expert Jerry Hume. He's standing by. Hey, Jerry, what do you got out there? All right, we're going to get to Jerry in just a moment here. You can see there in this picture there, we've got a few cars out there on the roads this morning. Not a lot of people out here, what we would normally see at this time on a Thursday morning, but you can see some cars making their way. The road's pretty slick out there. We've seen a lot of water, a lot of rain coming out there. We've got Jerry now. We want to go ahead and bring him in so he can give us a little bit of an update. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, yeah, the microphone going in and out. We'll change the battery shortly, but yeah, you can see we do have some flooding. This is that I-4 East ramp to Central Florida Parkway. That's towards SeaWorld right there. You'll want to avoid that ramp right now. We saw some cars go through it, but you do not want to go in. That could stall your vehicle right now. So we'll take a look at some other instances of what we're watching out there. Turnpike, still some problems. This is a flipped over truck, it looks like. This is going to be southbound here before 429. We are looking at a couple of left lanes blocked. You do not want to be on the roads if you can. Let's take you over to another spot we've been watching all morning long. Looks a little bit better here, State Road 40 at Nova Road. This is Ormond Beach in Volusia County. Looks okay there. We've been watching the rain really come down.
Two things you can always count on with hurricane season. Every hurricane is different.
Clystron 13 actually able to pick up on those out of rain bands.
And the Spectrum New
shutters,
shades,
drapes,
and more.
When it comes to window treatments, there's no place like the Blindsman. Follow the Blindsman to 5-star customer service every step of the way. From your in-home consultation to post-installation follow-up. The Blindsman guarantees quality custom window treatments, but also accommodates budgets of any size. Don't take our word for it. Check out our Google reviews. Add value to your home with the Blindsman. More than just blinds.
B-A-O-O.
When it comes to autism,
Hi.
Finding the right words can be tough. Finding community in these challenging times doesn't have to be. Join us, even virtually, to move together towards a kinder world for the millions of people on the autism spectrum. Find out how at autismspeaks.org/together.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how, and we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids need to know the dangers and how to avoid them. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids, because when you talk, they hear you.
At Baptist Health, we want you to know the facts. Visit BaptistHealthDocs.com to view a video of physical therapist Cody McNeely on finding relief with pelvic floor physical therapy. Baptist Health Lexington. Be a healthier you.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer? The Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drugfactslabel. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
now across Central Florida. We're live at 7 this morning.
Mother Nature this morning, once again, we're 6 weeks apart from Hurricane Ian, and now we're talking about what was Hurricane Ian, now Tropical Storm Nicole. But as our certified weather experts have been saying, there is no such thing as just a tropical storm, and November is proving that it can be an active month. Good morning to you. I'm Eric Levy.
And I'm Ebeth Bruce. Curtis McLeod taking a quick break. He'll be back in a little bit, so I'm glad that you're back. Eric Levy. So we're going to check in with our reporters in just a moment, but first, our weather experts are saying that right now at 7 o'clock and for the next few hours is when we're going to feel in our area the worst of the storm.
And I stayed downtown at a hotel just to make sure my drive-in from northwest Orange County was not any longer than 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And just the 5 minutes from the hotel to the station, one of those wind gusts was, pushing the back of my car, kind of rocking it back and forth and pushing it forward. Right. It's pretty feisty out there.
Let's talk more in depth about the conditions right now with our severe weather experts. We've got our chief meteorologist, Brian Carrick, Maureen McCann, and also we have Chris Gilson. Hey, guys, so what are we feeling right now and where exactly?
Beth and Eric, we are picking up some of the strongest winds now and the potential that we might spin up a brief tornado or waterspout coming on shore. At this point, high tide also coming in, Chris, and cameras looking a little rough at this point.
You can see all the cameras there on the side of the screen, including the Flagler Beach Pure Cam. We have some heavy rain coming off the coast of the Atlantic and around Nicole, and we're also watching for that risk, as Brian mentioned, for some rotation with some of those cells right off the coast of Flagler County. This is a look at Brevard County now from the Bogan Munns and Munns weather camera at Shepherd Park, Cocoa Beach. And as we go through the next 90 minutes during the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour, we're going to see high tide, and that will have a big impact along those conditions along the coast with the high tide. And that could lead to a storm surge there that we're going to be watching through the rest of the morning.
And then further to the north in Flagler County, that's where we have our tornado watch. It goes until 1 o'clock. And the bands have mostly been showing weak rotation, but there's just a few offshore that we're going to be keeping an eye on as we look at the shear rate. We look for pockets of light yellow and light green, and there's just a hint of that north of Marineland and offshore. So the threat will decrease as we go throughout the morning, but nonetheless, it's a tornado watch. Hopefully everyone's home and in their safe place. So just know if we did get into any warnings that you want to just make sure you go to the safest place of your safe place. But hopefully that threat starts to ease as Nicole pulls away.
All right, we'll continue to check in with you guys every 10 minutes. One of the areas that we've been focusing on and seeing the progression of the conditions getting worse has been over in Seminole County by Lake Monroe.
Yeah, and that was an area that was underwater. A lot of water from the lakes that was ended up being where it wasn't supposed to be because of all the excessive rain from Ian. Unfortunately, this is adding insult to injury. Spectrum News 13's Jesse Canales joining us from near Lake Monroe, and he shows us the St. Johns River water levels near Sanford are unfortunately rising again. It is it's just plain old awful out there, Jesse.
Eric, this area in Seminole County remains under flood watch, at least until 11 a.m. That was a nice gust of wind there, and what that wind is doing is pushing this water from Lake Monroe, crashing it onto the seawall, and some of the water has been spilling over onto roads all day, all night. And result of that heavy wind is not only the water, but look at what it did to this doggy poopy bag cleanup that most people use when they walk around here. It kind of tilted it over, and it also caused a lot of debris. This whole area here full of debris. You can see some vehicles trying to maneuver their way to avoid some of that palm tree debris that Nicole has left behind. And so that's something the county has been dealing with for more than a month now since Hurricane Ian. Debris cleanup. There's a lot of areas in Seminole County they have been able to get to because of the roads. And of course, like you guys mentioned, the St. Johns River. We're not going to see the full effect of how much that water has risen from this storm until another few days. A lot of the progress that has been made over the last couple of weeks turning the other way. Reporting live in Sanford, Jessica Canales, Spectrum News 13.
My goodness, yeah, the wind, hearing the wind on that microphone, it obviously is magnified just a little bit, but it's not by much because it is, the conditions outside just dreadful this morning.
Very dreadful. So from Seminole County, right, more inland, now let's go to the coastal Flagler County area. By the way, they're still under a tornado watch until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Our Nick Popham is joining us there in Flagler County. We see the pier behind you. Okay, walk us through what you're seeing right now.
Well, Yvette, the wind is still just as strong as ever, as strong as the last time we spoke with you. The rain has died down a bit, but you can see the pier behind me. It's something that we've been talking about for a few days now because it was affected by Hurricane Ian. We see the damage there, and now it's just taking another brutal walloping from Nicole. And you can see the waves in the water increasingly getting closer and closer to the walkway where we're standing, which is right on the main roadway here at Flagler Beach, close to where the Atlantic Ocean is. But those waves are not something to mess with. They are just getting stronger and stronger, and the wind is just making it even worse as it gets closer and closer to where we're standing. We see some sand and debris already where we're standing here, and one can only imagine in the next hour or so that it's even going to continue to pick up. This is what we've been told is the worst part of the storm for this area at least, but it could continue within the next hour or two. And as you mentioned, a tornado watch is happening here in Flagler County, so it's something to monitor on top of dealing with all this massive wind and the waves getting closer to where people are driving and coming through. Thankfully, the roadways are clear. Not many people are in this area. We've only seen a handful of folks come over to the shore here to take some pictures and record some video, but thankfully that has changed within the last few minutes. They have left, and for good reason, because this wind continues to be strong in this area. But for now, live at Flagler Beach, I'm Nick Popham. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. And, that pier's taking another beating. And, the city of Flagler Beach and Flagler County, they have money set aside already to do some repairs. And hopefully they're not going to have to shell out any more for any more damage because of Nicole.
The storm surge is what our severe weather experts have been talking about. And when you see how high those waves are right there, and then crashing onto those pilings, hour after hour after hour, it's just time will tell whether any of that was compromised, but those live pictures are something else. And I'm so glad that Nick's photographer was able to pan left. You see on the roof those iconic letters, right, that say Flagler Beach.
That's right.
So you can get a true sense of where he's located. And then you see the orange sand. It's so particular to Flagler Beach, and you can barely see it because the water has just taken over the shoreline.
Yeah, my goodness.
Mother Nature is something else.
Well, let's look at some video out of Melbourne that shows what appears to be a transformer explosion. Let's watch that. Look at that. That's very much a common sight during a big storm and during tropical storms and hurricanes. You do get those glows of blue in the sky, and that does not mean a good thing because that means customers are losing power at a very quick rate. So we'll be continuing to monitor it for you.
Absolutely. So we're not going anywhere. We've been live for hours, and our wall-to-wall coverage continues. Our weather experts are standing by. They're joining us once again to talk about the tornado watch and so much more. So tornado watch still in effect in Flagler County, Mo, until 1 this afternoon?
That's right. A watch means conditions are favorable. We'll let you know if we get into any warnings. We still have a tropical storm warning, though, for all of Central Florida. We're tracking Nicole, and we'll let you know when conditions start to improve. Coming up next with your Weather on the Ones.
At Baptist Health, we want you to know the facts. Visit BaptistHealthDocs.com to view a video of physical therapist Cody McNeely on finding relief with pelvic floor physical therapy. Baptist Health Lexington. Be a healthier you.
WKU is home for big dreamers, for those who shape the future, who set their sights high, accept challenges, fuel their passions, for those with a desire to create a better tomorrow. You don't come here to prepare for one thing. You come here to prepare for everything. You belong on this hill, where we engage, learn, grow, and celebrate together. Climb with us at Western Kentucky University.
The holidays are right around the corner, and Air Raid Trampoline Park's gift card special is back, now through December 31st. Enjoy family fun for less on the Ninja Course, arcade, dodgeball, wipeout, and so much more. This Christmas, give the gift of the most fun in southeastern Kentucky at Air Raid Trampoline Park, located just off I-75 in London. Visit airraidky.com for details.
Uneven concrete is not only unsightly and annoying, it can be dangerous and destructive. Now A1 can save you up to 70% off the cost of new concrete. For over 23 years now in Nicholasville, our expert technicians have been using patented equipment including traditional limestone grout and have been using foam longer than anyone in the area to safely lift and level sidewalks, driveways, steps, and more. Contact A1 Concrete Leveling Lexington today for your free estimate and find out how quickly and affordably we can restore the beauty and safety of your concrete.
For over 50 years, Don Franklin has been serving Kentucky with the convenience of 24 locations and over 5,000 vehicles to choose from. Now we're making it even easier with the Franklin Fast Pass. Find a vehicle, click on the Franklin Fast Pass, and start building your deal your way. Choose your payment, value your trade, and get approved, all within the comforts of, well, wherever you are. You can then either come to your Don Franklin dealership or we can deliver the vehicle to you. Franklin Fast Pass. Fast, easy, no obligation, conveniently located at DonFranklinAuto.com.
At 7:11, alongside Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and Chris Gilson with Nicole, still a tropical storm. I'll show you the new numbers with it as of 7 a.m. here in a moment. But first, we'll take you to Clystron 13 just to show you how this is an area-wide threat from coast to coast. Now over to our listed.com camera in Sanford, where we are seeing those rough conditions out by Lake Monroe and the rising water levels on the St. Johns River in this area too. We're going to get you caught up on the latest flood stages. We'll do that 7:21, and we'll be indicating what those water levels are like area-wide. Right now, we have tropical storm warnings posted all across Central Florida, so that means tropical storm force winds remain a threat in all of our counties. Winds are to 60 miles per hour with the latest positioning. It is moving to the west-northwest at 14, and the track is going to have it exiting off to our north and west later this afternoon and moving along quickly towards the Big Bend area and then further into Georgia, and our conditions will improve considerably behind it. But we're not done with the hazards yet. There are still tropical storm force winds. We've seen those gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour along the I-4 corridor the last hour or so. We also are approaching the next high tide in the 8 o'clock hour, so that's why storm surge and erosion is a very big concern. We saw what happened with yesterday's high tide and what that did along the Volusia County coast especially. And of course, we have the risk of localized flooding. Plus, there's the storm surge and the rough surf with wave heights that are already to 15 to 16 feet as detected by Clystron 13. So to go over those tide times to show you when those water levels will be at their highest, the next high tide cycle comes up at 8:53 for Daytona Beach, 8:36 Cocoa Beach. So pretty much along our east coast, any of those beaches between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We have the risk of storm surge up to 3 to 5 feet or more. And of course, we want to encourage you to stay safe in this situation. Also knowing that you may have to seek shelter if we get into any tornado warnings. There's a watch for Flagler County and points north until 1 o'clock. But please, now that we have daylight, we'd love to see your photos. As long as you're in a safe place, please share them on the Spectrum News app so we can get an assessment of what we are seeing on Clystron 13 and how that verifies with what you are seeing at your house and in your neighborhood. We see the general counterclockwise swirl, what's left of the eye as that moves across Polk County. So if this is going to be moving over the I-4 corridor, the southwest of the attractions and southwest of Kissimmee, Four Corners, where the eye is moving, the conditions may calm a bit. The winds will ease, the rain will let up, but that doesn't mean we are through with the storm yet, because we still have the rotation on the southern extent of the storm. Some of this soon to be sweeping up towards southern Brevard County, southern Osceola County, but the general storm movement is off to the west-northwest. Another look at Clystron 13 from a closer inspection location of some of these cells. There was a little bit of lightning showing up to the south of Claremont, moving past 27 into southern Sumter County towards the Green Swamp, towards Center Hill, Webster, some of that heavy rain on the south side of you. This rain is all pushing westward, and also the threats in Flagler County for some gusty squalls continue. Didn't mean to go in that close. Sorry about that. Wanted to show you how there's some squalls that are moving on shore, and as they do, there's just a hint of rotation showing up within these cells. So we are going to keep you posted if we get into any alerts. This is about the peak of it right now. High tides between 8 and 9 o'clock this morning, and then this afternoon as the activity shifts north and west. It'll still be breezy. There'll still be some leftover showers even into early tomorrow, but this time tomorrow it will be a much different scene across Central Florida, and the weekend too, a very nice forecast with fall-like air moving in behind a cold front. We'll focus more on the river threat and what those flood warnings are like across the St. Johns Basin coming up with your next check of your forecast here with team coverage. Nicole?
That is the best thing after a tropical system, Maureen, is when the
Eric.
dry air comes down after a storm when we get some really nice weather. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's the reward after the painful process of going through the wind, the rain, and everything else.
Yeah.
Our live team coverage continues right now with Angie Andrews on the other side of I-4. You, my friend, are over at Tropicana Field. We see a bunch of vehicles behind you. What's happening there?
So the wind is really starting to pick up here at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, and we're just starting to see really a taste of what you guys are seeing over there on the East Coast. But I want to take a step out of the way to give you a live look today. This is one of 5 staging areas for Duke Energy. They have an identical one there over in the Orlando area as well. There's 5,000 power crews staged, ready, and waiting to go right now. But of course, they can't head out until that wind dies down. So just like in Ian, we're seeing linemen who have traveled down here from the Midwest and from the Carolinas. So they all got into place last night. So if your power goes out and they are expecting more outages, the crews here will either head to the spot where the damage occurred, or they'll be able to handle some of the outages from their distribution control center. Technology has come a long way, and during the last storm, Duke restored 160,000 outages through what they call a self-healing technology, and it didn't require linemen in the field. But the big question so many of us have is, how do these power crews prioritize, and what areas do they go to first? So I asked the leaders over at Duke that question. Take a listen.
We have a very planned out progression for power restoration. We hit major transmission lines, substations, things that feed the most customers first. We take care of that first. Then we go to making sure that hospitals, police stations, fire and EMS, they're restored. Anything that's emergency related, that's our top priority. Then we hit the largest outages and we work our way down.
Right, and then from there they keep going down and down and down to those more rural areas. Now, right about 10 minutes ago, I checked in on those power outage numbers. Duke Energy customers sitting at just above 50,000 outages at this 7 o'clock hour. Most of those, again, over on the East Coast, Brevard County, and Volusia County as well. But for now, reporting live in downtown St. Petersburg, I'm Angie Andrews for Spectrum News 13.
All right, Angie, thank you very much. Yeah, not just a Central Florida storm. The wide expanse of the storm is being felt from coast to coast, and that is what it looks like in Flagler Beach. Once again, the sea foam and the waves, the angry waves right now as the wind continues to lash the coast, and we're hopefully going to get this thing out of here soon, Beth.
Stay with us. You're watching Spectrum News 13 at 7:18. We'll be right back, everybody. Don't go anywhere.
For those on the go, the smoothie connoisseur, the break room favorite, and for those that just never quite have it all, Clark's has what you need to keep your day on track. Make life easier and keep your busy schedule moving forward with everything you need at Clark's. Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
I am blind, but I need not see. I know this road is there for me.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear.
Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Because when you talk, they hear you.
If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Here we are at 7:21. Meteorologist Maureen McCann here with Chris Gilson and Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick. As bands of rain move across Central Florida, we remain under a tropical storm warning, and Nicole is still having a big impact in several ways with a lot of different hazards.
Yeah, we've had the high winds upwards of 70 miles per hour, even a little bit stronger than that earlier this morning. And as we go through the day today, we are going to be looking at we are going to be looking at those impacts continuing with the heavy bands of rain setting up. So this is a look at what happened if you're sleeping overnight at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hurricane Nicole at that point made landfall to the south of Vero Beach on North Hutchinson Island as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 75 miles per hour. Now this was a rare event because it's the latest landfall on the east coast of Florida on record. And it's the first hurricane landfall on the east coast of Florida in first season with 2 Florida landfalls since 2005. So Katrina was the last landfall on the east coast of Florida back in 2005 and the shortest span between hurricane landfalls since 2004. So a lot of stats there since this year has been abnormal with this late landfall here to go through the middle portion of November. And we're still looking at impacts here from Nicole stretching from Jacksonville down toward Tampa and Fort Myers, even around Orlando and along our east coast. We're still looking at those high winds.
And those winds leading to the threat of power outages. And we've been checking in on this map throughout the morning, our county by county power outage map. And these numbers are climbing. Flagler County didn't have any power outages at last check. Now about 200 customers. Clearly Brevard County, the biggest impact, the highest number of customers without power right now, estimated 86,000. And we also have Seminole County about 7,500. So these numbers are climbing as the wind speeds continue to be a threat for us, and those high winds are going to accompany some of that heavy rainfall. So we'll take you over to Clystron 13, and you can see those images there on the side of your screen. Don't forget, we're approaching high tide along our east coast, between around 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So that is Flagler Beach that you're looking at, in addition to some of our interior roadways and out by the marina at Lake Monroe. So windy conditions area-wide. Some of the heaviest rain right now is actually moving into southern Lake County and near Groveland and Mascot and in Claremont. We've been seeing some of that heavy rainfall. There was a little bit of lightning showing up with this squall right here. It's not at the moment, so whenever there's lightning, that tends to mean an uptick. We're still monitoring for any isolated spin-ups or brief tornadoes. So take a little inspection of what's happening here with the shear rate and not really finding much. We look for some some pockets of brighter yellow and green showing up. One area where we also are concerned about that is in Flagler County. You are the one county that's in a tornado watch at this time. However, as I take you to the north to show you those onshore moving bands of rain, you'll find that the rainfall is going to be a little bit heavier to the north in St. Johns County. Didn't mean to do that, sorry. The second time that's happened to me this morning. We're looking at the rainfall that is going to be moving onshore into Flagler and St. Johns counties, but the rotation with some of these bands seems a little more prominent offshore and to the north. We'll tune to another radar here to try to find, we look for these clusters of red and green close together. We haven't seen an overwhelming amount of this, perhaps a few small spin-ups offshore or maybe into St. Johns County, but overall, this is wind-driven rain for us. There's still the potential for totals overall of 2 to 4 inches with locally higher amounts. But as we go throughout the morning, conditions will be improving as the storm system moves to the northwest and we see our winds start to ease. So we'll be looking at other conditions coming up at the bottom of the hour. Chris has a little more information for us now, though.
Yeah, we are still seeing that heavy rain, as you can see here on the Flooring Center weather camera on the Citrus Tower there in Claremont, showing those gray skies and that rain. And as we go through the next couple of hours, we'll start to see the conditions gradually improve by the afternoon. Those winds still gusting close to 50 in Sanford. So we'll have more coming up. Curtis and Beth, or Eric and Beth.
It's good to see you, Chris Gilson. Thank you very much. And we're going to continue now with, I believe we're going to...
Ashley Mills.
Ashley Mills is in the control room. Ashley has been, of course, giving us an update on what's been happening with the conditions outside and the impacts to some of the damage. What are you hearing, Ashley?
Right, and I want to revisit the power situation, too, that Maureen was mentioning. Let's go back and revisit that map, FPL's map, if you will, because this was just updated at the top of the hour. As of 7 o'clock, a lot more numbers. They're mounting, more power outages. FPL urging customers to be patient, saying they will respond. But if you take a look at Brevard, which seems to be the largest amount so far, 87,150 customers out of power, followed by, if you go up to Volusia right after that, now 26,820 customers. Of course, along the East Coast there, that's where Nicole came in. So seemingly the area with the most outages at this point. We were able to speak with FPL even earlier this morning, saying that they do have a team, a massive team of people who will get out and work these outages to try to restore them just as soon as it is possibly safe for them as well. Take a listen.
So once those winds really drop below 35 miles an hour, that's kind of our main threshold. Our crews will be in the field actively restoring power. In the meantime, we can work behind the scenes and try to restore some power with technology and reroute power around trouble spots.
Just a reminder, too, they're urging people to stay away from any downed power lines. Of course, very dangerous. We'll take a look at other areas and continue to update you throughout the morning. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Ashley.
We continue our team coverage right now with Jerry Hume, our traffic expert, giving us a quick update on what's happening on the wet roads right now. Hey, Jerry.
And Beth and Eric, we've seen a lot of rain out there, not as much as we saw with Ian, but we're still seeing a tremendous amount, so that we're seeing some flooding. This is a look here at the 429 and that ramp to the 429 southbound from Plant Street. It is covered in water right now. I've seen some cars go through this. You don't want to do that. We're also seeing it here on I-4, the eastbound ramp to Central Florida Parkway, SeaWorld right now. It's also covered in water. We're also watching some crashes. This is a look here, Florida's Turnpike, flipped over vehicle. This is a look here southbound before you get to the 429. So that's a couple of left lanes that are blocked right there. We'll continue to track these conditions for you throughout the day. More Nicole coverage coming up after this. You're watching Spectrum News 13.
Hiya, Queen of All Knowledge here, reminding you, creeps out there on the internet hack, scam, and trick savvy cyber users every day, but we can fight back. It's as easy as IC3. If you're a victim of online crime, don't give up. Visit IC3, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Your tips help the FBI track down cyber criminals around the world. Report your crime to www.ic3.gov today.
I'm Amanda Hicks.
And I'm Kurt Kabutahe.
We started Buffalo Hydration to provide health and wellness services to the people of Buffalo.
We always thought TV was too expensive, but with the Pay It Forward program, we were able to get our message out there. The program was a game changer. Our friends and clients saw the spot. It was exciting.
We have a mission to help everyone live their healthiest life possible.
And we'll keep partnering with Spectrum Reach to help us with that mission.
Spectrum Reach, one advertising partner, and done.
As the world faces the challenges of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Lions recognize that kindness matters now more than ever. And Lions and Leos are finding ways to continue to serve our communities, including ordering food delivery for healthcare workers, holding story time for children online, and providing surgical masks to medical professionals and first responders. Empowering us to do more, Lions Clubs International Foundation has provided nearly $2.5 million in grant funding for COVID-19 relief. And that support continues to grow. For more than 100 years, in times of need, Lions always find a way to help those around them. And after we emerge from this, we will be stronger than ever. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
I was diagnosed at 65.
37. Earlier than most.
Every 9 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
And every one of them can turn to the American Parkinson Disease Association. Visit apdaparkinson.org to learn more and show your support today.
Your morning news presented by your Central Florida Acura dealers. Exhilaration comes standard.
The waves are crashing, the ocean is rough, the winds are shrieking. Mother Nature hitting it hard this morning. The speed limit signs flapping back and forth. It is a dreadful morning as we are seeing some nasty conditions from Tropical Storm Nicole that made landfall very early this morning as a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane. And we would normally say, well, you slept. But the sound of the storm probably did not allow you much sleep at all. Thank you for joining us for our live in-depth team coverage of Tropical Storm Nicole. I'm Eric Levy.
And I'm Ebeth. Bruce Juan Curtis McLeod taking a little break. He'll be back in just a little bit. So right now, Flagler County is under tornado watch until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's talk about that and also the intensity of the storm. When is it going to let up in our area? We've got our severe weather experts joining us live right now at 7:31. And we've got Maureen McCann, hey Mo, and Chris Gilson. So walk us through what you're tracking at this hour.
Good morning, Ebeth and Eric. And as you can tell from the cameras there on the screen, there's still a lot of active weather. We're going to be watching for the storm surge threat with high tide coming up in the next hour. We still have heavy rain and those high winds that we've been tracking. And Nicole is a tropical storm. Tropical storm warnings continue for all of Central Florida. We had hurricane warnings earlier, but since it has weakened and made landfall, we're just looking at tropical storm warnings right now, but still gusty winds, and we're seeing the rain impacts and those winds impacts from North Florida down into Southwest Florida.
Yeah, and winds to 60 miles per hour, not out of the question. That's what came in with the latest observation or latest advisory package that came through. Here we are with Clystron 13, some of our most intense bands over southern Sumter and Lake counties. So again, it's not just at the coast. These are going to be pushing westward. We even had a little bit of a rumble of thunder and some lightning with that cell. The other area we've been watching for about the last hour is Flagler County for some of these bands that are pivoting on shore, but a lot of that may be passing to the north into St. Johns County. We have a report that the bridge, the A1A from St. Johns into Flagler County closed because of water going over the road. We just saw that report come in. So that's what we are looking at throughout the morning on Clystron 13, in addition to, Chris, approaching high tide.
Yeah, approaching high tide in the next hour around 8:30 for all of our East Coast, from Flagler County down into Brevard County, and that will lead to more issues along our East Coast beaches, and we're seeing those rough seas out there this morning. So we'll dive deeper into the storm surge threat and the other hazards that we're tracking coming up a little later on.
All right, Chris and Maureen, thank you very much. We'll be checking back in with you a little bit later. Just wanted to bring up another note. We hit this point hard during summer thunderstorms, heavy rain, and especially during tropical systems. Do not drive through standing water. We wanted to bring this camera up really quickly to show you. This is an example. This is the 429 right at the Plant Street exit ramp on the west end of Orange County. You see the water overflowing. Just a moment ago, literally 30 seconds before we came to you, we saw a small car drive through that water. Luckily, it made it. But friends, do not do that.
That's a big no-no.
You don't want to do that because this is a construction zone and you don't know if the water has washed out some of that road. So you want to stay away, and it might be a good thing to maybe try to block that off, put some cones around. Don't know the reason for that, but stay away from water like that.
That's good advice. Okay, we've got Will Robinson-Smith joining us from Cocoa over in Brevard County. He's been all over the place in that particular part of Central Florida. Oh, wow. What is that behind you there, Will?
Yeah, Yvette and Eric, you were just talking about not driving on flooded roads. Or we're on Indian River Drive right now, an area that typically floods when we see some big rain events. Want to step aside and show you what the road conditions are like right now. You can see we're not in the road because, as we've been talking about through the morning, you don't want to drive in standing water like this, and you don't want to walk in standing water on this. You just don't know what may be in there, even though it looks shallow enough to be safe. But off to our left, you can see how choppy the Indian River is, how just dirty that water appears with all the froth and the churn. You can barely see the barrier islands on the other side of the river there. And in fact, we just got word from the city of Cocoa Beach that city phone lines are down, but the non-emergency number is still operational. So a lot of municipalities across Brevard County dealing with the impacts of now Tropical Storm Nicole. Fortunately, I want to bring up those pictures of the tree that we showed you earlier. This is a little bit further down the road from where we are here on Indian River Drive, just south of Dixon Boulevard. That's a little bit further down the road, but it's at a point where the road is flooded out, so we can't actually get there by foot. So I wanted to bring you those pictures provided by the city. So thank you to the city of Cocoa for giving us those. Just an example of just the impacts that we've been seeing throughout the night and into the morning from now Tropical Storm Nicole. We're continuing to make our way across Brevard. Now that the sun is up, we can get a better look at the damage left behind. Reporting live here in Cocoa, Will Robinson-Smith, Spectrum News 13.
Want to let you know, thank you for that, Will Robinson. That's crazy, the water taking over the road. That we've just learned that Governor Ron DeSantis is holding a press briefing this morning at 10:30. We will be bringing that to you live at that point.
Okay, let's get to Jesse Canales. He is near Lake Monroe in Seminole County, which is an area that was hit hard during Hurricane Ian about 6 weeks ago, getting hit hard once again. Jesse, how's it looking out there where you are?
Well, Eric, according to National Weather Service right now,
let's do something. If his photographer can still show us, there we go. So if we cannot hear Jesse, we can see the pictures. That's Lake Monroe. Look at how nasty the water is coming over that seawall. I was there just before midnight, and it was getting really crazy. And now the intensification is clear to see. This is Lake Monroe.
Yeah, the waves.
This is Seminole County. This is inland.
The waves are crashing into the seawall right there. The tree is not bending over, but so it doesn't look like it is as windy as it was, but still windy enough that the river is still, or the lake, I should say, Lake Monroe is still very, very active and very, very angry this morning, if you will.
And I'm going to say cold because I got slapped in the face by Lake Monroe at around midnight when I was doing some coverage. It's really cold water. All right, stay with us. We're going to check in with our crew in a moment. You're watching Spectrum News 13. It is 7:38. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to keep checking in with our reporters and also our severe weather experts. And in the meantime, on the bottom of your screen, updated information constantly of what's closed, what's open, and where the worst impacts are being felt.
And if you have no power, make sure you have the Spectrum News app because we send you push alerts with the big updates too. Stay with us.
And
actually, we'll go to weather. Yeah.
Alrighty, we're just updating some graphics here, looking at rainfall totals and 3-hour rainfall estimates in West Orange County into Lake County, around 2 to 3 inches. That's just in 3 hours. We'll take a look at the rest of Central Florida coming up next with your weather on the ones.
All Kentucky driver licensing is moving from circuit clerk offices in every county
to regional offices. And the new regional offices offer more licensing choices than ever before.
Get a driver's license valid for 4 years.
or 8 years.
Get a real ID
or a standard license.
Renew online or in person.
You can even visit any regional office you'd like.
It's next level licensing. Learn more at drive.ky.gov.
St. Jude affects all corners of the world for good. I mean, if you think about organizations that affect an entire world, it's a short list. Taking care of kids is a priority. Taking care of the families as whole.
Without donations, without people that care for St. Jude and for the kids of St. Jude, our Max wouldn't be here.
You are making a difference, not just in the hospital, but in an entire world.
This place that I call home. Explain it to her that
My daughter Brinley is here at St. Jude. We came here for her second relapse of acute myeloid leukemia. Coming here was literally life or death.
We feel that we, on a small level, at least are helping change the world, helping increase the survival rate for children. It's a very sad world where children don't get to grow up as adults and, live their lives.
You just want to show them your little girl and be like, you're giving me her, you're giving us time. You look at everyone and they're all so different. They all come from different places. They all have different views, but everyone there was there for one mission. In this world, it seems like a very unreal thing for so many people to come together and just give.
This place that I call home. Explain it to her that
The Spectrum News app.
7:41, meteorologist Maureen McCann here with Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick and Chris Gilson as we track Nicole on Clystron 13, and we're checking out all those cameras too from around Central Florida showing the hazardous conditions from the coast to inland, and those rainfall totals are going to be adding up, but also those wind speeds are going to be coming down over the course of the next few hours as things improve. But yes, we still have some rain and wind to get through. Let's take a look at downtown Orlando. I'd say the winds have started to ease compared to a view of this camera we saw maybe about an hour ago, and it was wind-driven rain moving across. And there is North Orange Ave and Central, but as we look from up above, that is the Weichert Realtors Hallmark Properties Sky Cam. And yes, still raining, still windy, with Nicole taking a track to the west-northwest. Latest movement has it at 14 miles per hour. Pressure not as low as it was previously, as the storm system has no longer the hurricane label. It lost that this morning as it moved on shore. It did make landfall as a Category 1 hurricane along North Hutchinson Island to the south of Vero Beach. That happened around 3 a.m. in case you were sleeping, but kind of hard to sleep in a situation like this as we still have that rain and wind. And don't forget, there's an ongoing risk for isolated tornadoes. That should lessen as we get into late morning, but Flagler County nonetheless is included in a tornado watch. That means conditions are favorable for tornadoes to occur. Of course, we have those wind gusts to tropical storm force. Remember, that's 39 miles per hour or greater. Seeing that in Sanford, in Melbourne, Kissimmee. The rotation right here, though, you see going counterclockwise, and that is where the center of storm is located. So it is moving into Polk County or out of Polk County and eventually off to the west-northwest. Let's see where the heaviest rain is located right now on Claistron 13. Again, that eye bringing some calmer weather to parts of Polk County and western Osceola County, but this band right here picking up on some pretty heavy rainfall. West Orange County into Lake County. It is going to be advancing towards some of these communities in the next few minutes. That includes Riverdale at 7:46. Again, wind-driven rain, no lightning at this time. The rain a little bit lighter as we look towards the St. Johns, also looking towards parts of Volusia County. Flagler County, still some intense pockets coming on shore. I've been keeping an eye on any small areas of weak rotation. It hasn't been overly impressive on Claistron 13, but that's what we're watching in case we see any brief spin-ups for isolated tornadoes. 3-hour rainfall estimates in the last couple of hours, they've been heaviest in this band right here, 2 to 3 inches in West Orange County, along with St. John's, where we're so concerned about flooding. In the last 3 hours, those totals have been a little bit lower. I want to bring you up to speed on what's happening along the St. Johns. We are at major flood stage again for the St. Johns River and near Astor. That is moderate flooding near DeLand and Sanford, taking you to that hydrograph showing you what's been happening and what is forecast to happen at Astor. Those water levels have risen back into major flood stage. They're expected to stay there throughout the rest of the week and into the weekend. We'll look more at the impacts and what we'll be seeing with the tide times coming up with your Weather on the Ones. We'll have more team coverage at 7:51.
All right, Maureen, thank you very much. And again, at that 429 at Plant Street exit or entrance ramp, whichever that may be, we just saw another car drive through.
There it
you
goes.
can see. You don't want to do that. We were just looking over there, and you can see that vehicle going up that ramp. They just drove through that standing water again. You don't want to do that, and I would hope that somebody would go out there at some point, if somebody is watching this from the city or the county, to block that.
It's
if
too
possible.
windy, it's too hazardous.
Or at least put cones up or something.
They can't do it because it's too dangerous. If you're watching,
don't listen to it.
Yep,
listen to us. Don't drive through it. Okay, let's go to Jason Lanning. He is joining us with what is happening on the other side of the state, in Lakeland, actually, the center of the state. And Jason, what are you seeing over there?
Right, so here in Lakeland, where we are live right now, very near downtown, wind gusts in the mid-30s, although we did see in Winter Haven about an hour ago a wind gust of 51 miles an hour, and in Bartow, a little bit further to the south, 61 miles an hour. The good news, even with those higher wind gusts, we have not got any damage reports. In fact, Polk County and its Emergency Operations Center saying they have gotten no damage reports so far, so that's certainly good news. The rain is a bit different of a story. We are now just over 2 inches of rainfall here in Lakeland. You can see it's not really hampering people getting out and about, and so far no localized pockets of flooding, but the rain is going to continue here perhaps for the next several hours, so we'll have to keep a close watch on that. We quickly want to take you into the neighborhoods of Lakeland from overnight as we started to see the first rain bands, and this is the question of the day. Is it too early for a Christmas tree or too late for a tropical storm? Regardless of your answer to that question, we can all agree it is a very weird day with Tropical Storm Nicole happening so late in the season. We had a chance to talk with a resident overnight, Nicole Harrison. This is what she says she and her husband experienced as the storm was pushing in.
Basically, like, the lights were flickering on and off, and then after that, it was just like, it just like blew. Like, you just see one go, and then next thing you know, you see another one go. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Right, and it's not good because we're still watching power outages. When the lights flicker, you worry about an outage. So far, only around 300 power outages here in Polk County, so all some very good news, at least so far today. Guys, back to you.
All right, Jason Lanning from Lakeland. Jason, thank you.
We continue our team coverage right now with Alice Herman. Alice joining us from Lake Harney this morning.
In Seminole County right now, right on the banks of Lake Harney, in a more residential area that flooded pretty badly during Hurricane Ian. Right now, we're not getting a lot of rain, but we're already starting to see some flooding from the rain earlier tonight. And the wind, as you can see over here, is picking up quite a bit. Considering the fact that this area did flood during Hurricane Ian, this is an area that we're keeping an eye on, as well as other low-lying areas and residential areas near lakes in this part of the county. We'll keep you updated as the storm progresses. In Seminole County, Alice Herman, Spectrum News.
All right, thank you, Alice. And we continue to check with our different crews across Central Florida to see what they're seeing. And here's the common denominator for all of them. Everything is intensifying. So we ask you to stay with us as we continue to show you live pictures here on the right-hand side of your screen. Eric Levy is here.
Yep.
And we'll be right back in just a moment.
Yep,
Don't
stay
go
with
anywhere.
us.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Matthew. I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. And what you say really does matter to me.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me, and they make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for talking.
Talk. They hear you.
These past few years have been difficult ones. People we know, love, and care for, our parents, siblings, neighbors, friends, our children, have been deeply affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. During these times of crisis, our community has been fortunate to count on the Hispanic Federation, a Latino-led institution created and strengthened over 3 decades to respond to the most urgent needs of our fellow Americans. Working with a network of over 450 community nonprofit service providers, the Federation has built a lifeline of care and support for the most vulnerable amongst us, especially our community, providing food and aid to children and seniors living in poverty, refuge and legal assistance to migrant families, care for the sick, and vaccines and education to stem the spread of the coronavirus. The pandemic is not over, and neither is the Federation's work. Everything is possible when we act and work together. Please join me in supporting the Hispanic Federation. To learn more, visit HispanicFederation.org. Hispanic Federation, taking Hispanic causes to heart.
Individuals in every community are living in recovery from mental and substance use disorders. Begin your recovery journey. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
7:51 now as we continue to track Tropical Storm Nicole. I'm meteorologist Chris Gilson with Marie McCann and Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick, and we're still seeing all those sites along our coast here, and we're going to be watching the coast very closely as we get close to high tide here in the next hour.
Yeah, we saw what high tide did yesterday along our east coast. Those images were very impressive, and now we're going to be seeing the next high tide cycle come up between about 8:30 and 9 for most of our east coast locations. So when we turn to the Bogan Munds and Munds at Shepherd Park Cocoa Beach Camp on a regular basis, we don't always see that rough. We also don't see the water levels coming up that high. So coastal erosion a threat, knowing that wave heights have been detected at 15 to 16 feet along our coast. So here are those tide times. If you're keeping track, the tide will go out in the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock time frame, but then there will be another high tide tonight, 9:12 for Daytona Beach, 8:38 for Cocoa Beach. So pretty much within that time frame along all of our East Coast locations. Whenever we have a tropical system and that large wind field pushing the water, that causes the water levels to come up higher than they usually are, and that leads to our coastal flooding and storm surge threat, which is why those storm surge warnings continue along our East Coast. Wave heights or the seas getting elevated, plus we have the onshore moving water with the wind pushing it. So winds to 60 miles per hour. This is the latest advisory information we have on Nicole as it moves over land, but still, Chris, with winds of 60 miles per hour and with the threat of some pockets of heavy rain.
Yeah, pockets of heavy rain stretching from northern Florida down into southwest Florida. So Nicole having far-reaching impacts all across the state here continuing this morning. And as we take you into Clystron 13, you can see that the rain's letting up a little bit in eastern Orange County, County, Brevard County, portions of Osceola County, and the heavier bands kind of setting up right around Orlando and back into Apopka, Ocoee, Windermere, and then stretching into Lake County around Claremont, Mineola, Groveland, Leesburg, Wildwood, and the Villages, seeing some of the heavier activity. Now, we have a tornado watch for Flagler County, which means conditions are favorable for tornadoes to develop, but so far we haven't seen anything develop. And earlier there was a lot of stronger cells coming off the Atlantic waters, stronger downpours working toward Palm Coast and Flagler Beach, but we're not seeing that as much, and more of that activity is kind of shifting back to the north around St. Augustine, but still some gusty winds embedded with this activity around Palm Coast, Flagler Beach, Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach, and Port Orange. And again, along I-4 and points to the west, we'll see the heavier activity over the next hour or two. But notice what's happening here. After a little bit of a break down into portions of Brevard County, we're starting to see the rain start to fill in a little bit more here in southern Brevard County, Indian River County. So Melbourne, Mico, Malabar, Grand Falcaria, you'll likely see some heavier rain fill in as the system continues to kind of wrap around. So after a break there in Brevard County, more rain heading your direction. River flooding, big concern here as we're looking at the St. John's near DeLand back into moderate flood stage, along with the St. John's near Sanford. So the water levels have come back up, unfortunately, after all the progress we made over the past 5 to 6 weeks. And we're looking at here the flood stage rising at Lake Harney back above 9 feet into that moderate flood stage. So we are going to watch the St. Johns River Basin very closely here throughout the day today and also as we head into the upcoming weekend. Ebeth and Eric.
All right, Chris Gilson, thank you very much, as well as Maureen McCann. Check back with you a little bit later on. We want to check in with Katie Strite. She is in Daytona Beach, tracking the conditions out there.
Wow.
Yes, we're actually on our way to Daytona Beach shores. However, there you can see the bridge is closed, as well as flooding is in the area. We've seen just in the last 10 minutes, folks are trying to go through these flood waters, but this is pretty deep water, and unless you have a truck, we really don't recommend it. And even with a truck, I would say stay away from the flood waters. But folks are trying to make it to the Daytona Beach Shores area, but that bridge is still closed. The only folks we've been seeing going into that area is law enforcement officers and first responders. We've seen 2 SWAT trucks actually go towards that area as well. So we're going to continue to keep you guys updated with the conditions that are going on in the Daytona Beach area. But if you are in this environment, make sure you are inside and away from flood waters. Live in Daytona Beach, Katie Strite, Spectrum News.
All right, thank you, Katie. And speaking of what's happening out on the roads, we're tracking, sadly, a deadly crash right now. Jerry Hume joining us live once again.
And this is one of the reasons why you don't want to be on the roadways, because we are seeing very serious crashes out here. Let's take a look. This is right here behind me. You can see on the right side of your screen, the law enforcement, first responders there. This is Florida's Turnpike, and this is going to be very close to the 408 southbound. 2 left lanes are blocked because of this deadly crash. There are more vehicles entering the roadways, and we're seeing things like this, cars going through flooded roadways. That's why you want to stay home. This is that I-4 East ramp to Central Florida Parkway near SeaWorld out there, so avoid that for the time being. We're also seeing it, we're mentioning here, the 429, the northbound ramp from Franklin Street, Plant Street right now. Avoid that. Also here on the Turnpike going back there, this is the northbound off ramp to State Road 50. It's blocked because of some flooding out there. More Nicole coverage coming up after this. You're watching Spectrum News 13.
A promise is a trust not to be broken. Whether spoken with an oath,
Do solemnly swear.
It's your first day. You know I got your back, right?
or sealed with a pinky. In 1922, a group of soldiers launched USAA with a promise to take care of their own. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community. That's our mission. Always.